Hey Ted, hey everybody,
Hey, Jim.
Hey,
how
Jim.
you doing? Hello. We got enough folks for tonight, right?
We expect to. Right now, you make three, so we still need one more commission member.
I know Ed's at select board meeting. For a little bit anyway.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Talking about e-bikes again or something. This big thing, e-bikes.
E-bikes.
E-bikes, yeah. Yep, how they're out of control. They're out of control and we gotta do something about it, yeah. I'm gonna give me a minute to get set up here. You have a light agenda too, huh? Pretty light?
No, we'll see what. I think we have a few hot topics, so
Yeah, I saw that, but we're gonna get through them.
we're gonna get through them. Yep.
We're gonna get through them pretty
We're
quickly.
gonna try and be efficient.
Yeah, that's right. We have a time limit of 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so I know we did have Walter confirm that he's coming. Don't see him.
School vacation, isn't it? It's the college schedule, kind of.
Yeah, the independent schools tend to do it this way.
How long have you been doing that? Forever?
Well, as long as I've been a teacher, I've only taught in independent schools, and it's always been 2 weeks in March.
Oh, that's maybe better. Although it's not, well, you gotta go to someplace warm, right?
Well, this year I spent a week in the Dominican, so that was nice. But normally I'm in
nice.
Hopkinton for 2 weeks. So.
Well, that's nice. Well, welcome back. I'm glad you made it back.
Hey, you can see the tan.
You were in one of those all-American resort areas?
No, absolutely
States and
not.
all that?
I have a friend who lives in Santo Domingo and who used to work at my school. And my two kids and I got to see what I like to say is the real Dominican Republic, not the foreign-owned resorts and the beaches.
So you got to see the military running around with their machine guns and stuff.
Well, maybe.
It's probably not changed much in 30 years.
I've led a couple student service trips to the Dominican where we volunteered in a school and we built homes for Haitian immigrants in the middle of sugarcane fields. And
Oh, wow, cool.
all I've ever done in the Dominican is see the real Dominican, not the foreign-owned resort.
Yeah. You did that some kind of a mission or habitat? No, not habitat. It's kind of a mission?
No, but there are different groups that are working. It wasn't Habitat for Humanity. It wasn't through a church.
Yeah, no, they only do this. Yeah, they only do that with habitat. Those are stuff, yeah. All right, let's see, open documents.
Still waiting for a fourth.
We are. Oh, I see Walter.
Oh, really?
So you there, Walter?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I had to get off mute.
You want me to start reading, Melissa?
Yep, go for it, Ted.
All right, here we go. This is the April 7th, 2026 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission being conducted remotely, consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during this state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please also keep yourself on mute unless and until called on by the chair. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed the project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion for public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via a roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. The chair, Melissa Ricos.
Present.
Jim Cirillo. There was a present. Walter Garland.
Present.
Peggy Shaw. Ed Hara. Matt Moyen. And I am Ted Barker Hook. I am present. I will now confirm that staff are present. Judy Day, the Hopkinton Conservation Administrator.
Present.
Anna Rogers, the Environmental and Inspectional Services Coordinator.
Present.
Joe Orzel of Lucas Environmental.
Present.
And before I give it back to Melissa, I want to let everybody in the room know that we have, at least the last I heard, one continued hearing. The planned Kelly hearing at 15 Montana Road, a continued hearing, is requested to be continued again. It is now on the agenda for April 28th, 2026. And that's what I have so far, Melissa.
All right, thanks, Ted.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I know that we have quite a few people in the audience for a couple of our work session items, so we're gonna kick off the meeting with those tonight. I'm gonna skip over the draft minutes for review. We can come back to them at the end. And I'm gonna go down to work session item number 3, which is the informal discussion for the Trails Committee, Berry Acres parking area. So do we have someone on the call? I believe I saw Mr. Kimball.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, would you like to present to the commission your proposal? Or I guess what you're looking for tonight?
Yeah,
for
so
the
I
work session.
I
Yeah.
sent a proposal. Oh, there we go. This is it. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. So for those who are unfamiliar, there's a parking area that's not really formalized or finished. I think it's just an old driveway, an old parking area off of Main Street going into the Berry Acres system. There's a curb cut. So the curb's already cut. And what we want to do is to encourage more use of the Berry Acres Trail system while people don't have to cross Main Street from Ice House Pond. And the proposal here is to bring in stone dust and even off the driveway in, and then create a parking area for maybe 4 or 5 cars. The reason why I'm reaching out to Concom is we believe Concom is responsible for this property. So barring any wetlands issues, this proposal is, all right, Concom, the board is responsible for this particular property. What does Concom think of the idea before we even start exploring the wetlands impact?
Okay.
And I presume it's going to be wet, so.
Yes, it definitely is wet over there. I think most members are probably a little at least familiar with where this is. Driven by it many times, maybe worked on a crossing here or there, Eagle Scout projects. It reminds me a little bit of our property over on College Rock, where we have a parking area. We are the holders of that property as well, or we maintain and are responsible for College Rock. It has kind of a small parking area that's really very unfinished, I guess you'd say. The biggest difference being that West Main Street is just has so much more traffic on it, obviously than College Rock. So my, I guess, only concern or hesitation would be if you get a lot of traffic there, a lot of people using the parking area, how much creep might we expect, even if we do have a defined parking area proposed, or with a crushed stone? I imagine people are not going to be able to back onto West Main Street out of this parking area, and would need to be able to turn around in that parking area to come back out on West Main from a safety perspective. And if they can't do that based on the number of cars that are there, are they going to end up in the woods, in the wetlands, creeping outside of the parking area and causing, encroachment and damage to our resource area would be my biggest question, and thing I'd want to vet, maybe even with the site walk.
Yeah, no, I can't answer that, Melissa. What I can
Okay.
say is that I brought in my pickup truck and I was able to do a 3-point turn to get out, but the lot was empty.
Right.
So I can't say you can do it with the full lot. I don't want to say.
Yeah. Okay. That was the first thing that came to my mind when I was kind of looking at it, looking at your plan and having driven by. But I think I would encourage either, I don't know if anyone else on the commission is interested in scheduling a site walk out there to check it out. Maybe we can try it out with a couple cars. See what we can do.
I think that's a great point, Melissa. And we could actually, as part of the contract, we could kind of say, okay, make sure that we put in something to allow cars to pull in and turn around when it's full. Because I agree with you. You don't want to back out, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Melissa.
Okay. Yes, Ted?
I love the idea of a site walk, and I love testing the parking. And I know we don't have an official wetlands analysis. That costs a lot of money, and this is just an informal talk. I will say I am worried about the proximity to the wetlands, and it's a pretty extensive wetland system that little area is part of. I am always so supportive of the Trails Committee and so thankful for the trails, and I never like offering less than robust positive responses. I worry a little bit about parking cars in there and oils or gases from the car. I know my driveway has 2 cars leaking into my driveway, and I picture that next to the wetlands. And on top of that, I don't do any ice skating on the pond in the winter, but I could actually see that parking lot becoming overflow for pond skaters as well, which means now it's full season car parking. And I just worry what that might mean with that proximity to the wetlands. I think your worry about parking lot creep, it makes sense as well, Melissa. But even without creep, I'm a little nervous about that becoming a home for cars 9-10 months of the year.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth a site walk and it's worth looking at. I'm certainly not saying no, 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 but those are my opening concerns.
Okay. Anyone else, Jim or Walter, did you have any thoughts?
Yes, through the chair, I am looking at that area now. I'm wondering if a better location for a parking lot might be off of Wayland Road. It looks like there's a lot more space there for a parking area. You don't have to worry about Main Street that way. If you look kind of what's on the screen here down towards the bottom, I'm looking at a maybe can you scroll up there a little bit? Yeah.
Cul-de-sac there.
Yeah, there's there's a road between those two cul-de-sacs. I mean, I think it looks a little different than it does now, and there's a dotted line over to the trail system. If that would be possible there's a lot more of an area there, kind of between the two where it says 2025, 2025, that area might be more conducive to a parking lot, and you're not going to attract Ice House Pond traffic. It would be, much more for nature lovers. Kind of put you in the middle of the trail system there as well.
I don't know, Sean, if you want to speak to that or any other options that you've looked at aside from this one.
To answer your question, we have not looked at any other parking alternatives. I can speak to this connector between Wayland and Chamberlain. So Chamberlain, you could probably get 8 cars in the cul-de-sac, just in the cul-de-sac itself. Now that road between the two cul-de-sacs is a gated road and only used for emergency access vehicles. Right?
Oh, I've seen it. It seems like it's open all the time. Maybe I'm mistaken.
I thought it was gate. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen the gate closed, and it was open when they were doing construction on Chamberlain. When they put the speed hump in, they opened that up to allow the residents to get in and out without using Chamberlain. That was for a short stint last summer. What I can say is on the west side of it, it's very steep. And that blue dotted trail where you see the 2025 markers, that's all wet. And it's down, I don't know, 30 feet from the road. So on that west side, you really can't do any parking. And then, to access the east side, you'd have to go on that access road, which you wouldn't be able to do.
I see. I was just thinking of potential alternatives because
I hear you.
I guess I share. I mean, I love trail systems, but I do also share.
And the other thing is Windsor is not really, I mean, they've been accommodating for us for doing trail work on very specific days and hours, but they're not open for public access on the residents because it's for the residents. And that's all on the west side of the Berry Acres system.
What about at the far end of it at Lumber Street?
So
there's a trail. Actually, there may be some homes in there. I'm just looking at the.
Yeah, I think Sean will probably, obviously look at different options. The Trails Committee, I guess, will look at different options. But just looking at the one you're bringing to us right now, how about Judy, can we do maybe you can set up, because we don't have all of our commission members on the call right now, we're a little short-handed. Can you do a doodle poll for the group offline to maybe find a weekend that we can do a site visit?
Yeah, I can do that. And if we get more than 3 people, we would just have to advertise it it would be open to the public. So we can see how many folks are interested in coming.
Okay. I think that sounds good. Does that work for you, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, Judy, just let me know. And I'd definitely be interested in attending.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, thanks for spending the time. I appreciate it. And I do think there's a right solution here. I'm not sure what it is, but I hope there is.
No, it's good to look at all the options.
All right.
Thank you for including us.
Right on. All right. See you later.
Hey. Okay. Next up, we have Hopkinton DPW 2026 Lake Maspinock update and treatment recommendation. Do we have someone from Oh, Carrie, I see you.
Hi, everyone. I'm here.
Welcome.
Welcome. So I'm trying to catch up on this, but hi, Carrie
Okay.
Reed, Director of Public Works. I have some other members here with me, but I think we provided a presentation. Judy, are you able to bring that up, or do I need to bring that up?
Here I have it. If you
Fabulous.
want to just let me know when you want me to proceed.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Fabulous. So yes, so we're here to give an update on the Lake Maspinock weed management and review what we did last year and go over our plan for next year. I think it's Joe's on the call. Joe, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Hi. Whoops, sorry. I don't know why that is not there.
Do you have another device on?
What is that?
Mary Jo, yeah. My wife does. Let's see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, it sounds better now.
Oh, is that better?
Oh, oh, something changed.
Yeah, she's not on either. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go on my phone. So somebody else introduce yourself and I'll be right back.
I'm sorry. It's just the two of us for now. So I'm the Director of Public Works, and Joe is the chair of the Lake Maspinock Weed Control Citizen Advisory Group, which was formed by the Select Board. So both of us will lead this, and then we'll bring in some other speakers as we go. But if you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. I can't remember which ones I hid and which ones I didn't. So just to bring the commission up to speed, you've heard some of the stuff already before, a little bit of the background of why we're here before you today. So we currently have an order of conditions for a toolbox of weed management options. And this was based off of a lot of years of work going into it. So this has been before the Conservation Commission before. Going back, you know, when this first came up, there was a lot of concerns about some of the ideas that were happening and what kind of weed management there were. So almost 10 years ago now, the Select Board created the Citizen Advisory Group, or CIG as we call it. But the study of the lake has been going, you know, back for a very, very, very long time. But we have about 10 years worth of data that got us to this point. We were issued the order of conditions in 2022. The DPW is the one that has the order of conditions with the recommendation from the CIG. And we've been implementing several of these things since then, which we'll talk about, and we will update the plan as we go along. So what we got next? Next slide. So at this point, you know, part of our order of conditions is to do annual surveys and to bring those the results back to the commission to give you an update. As of last year, our former limnologist who had been helping all along, David Mitchell, retired. The town went through a process and we hired a new limnologist to help consult us, which is Aquatic Restorations Consulting LLC. And I believe we provided their report, which was the annual summary, and Wendy, I think I saw, was on here. So I would like to introduce Wendy to introduce herself, kind of explain what their role is, and provide some summary. And then I'm going to assume the commission probably wants to wait till the end to answer any questions or ask any questions.
Yeah, that's fine. We can wait till the end.
All right.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm Wendy Gendron. I'm a certified lake manager and I run and own the company Aquatic Restoration Consulting. And I used to work with Dr. Mitchell, so we're very familiar with each other's work, and I learned a lot of things over the years from him, and also Dr. Wagner, which you may have run into here and there with your lake work and your Conservation Commission issues. So what I just wanted to talk a little bit about is, you know, this past year was the first year on the lake. It's a beautiful lake. It has about we did a survey in the early spring or June, and then we did another one in August. And there's quite a bit of diverse vegetation out there. Unfortunately, the lake does have 5 different non-native species, and I think that's kind of what we're here to talk about tonight. Judy, if you don't mind advancing the slides, please. So here are some of the here are some of the main plants that are in the water body. What's really the invasive one that's probably the most dangerous to the lake is fanwort. You see that up on the upper left-hand corner. You also have variable milfoil as well as Eurasian water milfoil. Tape grass, while it's a native, it can get very aggressive. Same thing with collapsing leaf pondweed, that's also a native, that can get aggressive. And then brittle naiad was something that has really taken off in the lake in the late season, and that is a non-native species. Potamogeron crispus, or curly leaf pondweed, not shown here. That can be very problematic early in the season, but it tends to die off around late July. But brittle naiad comes and sort of takes its place, and that's kind of takes off in its growth in the later portion of the season. The ones that really choke off other native plants and limit habitat for fisheries are your fanwort and your milfoils. To some extent, collapsing leaf pondweed, but some of the other ones are more nuisance species to human recreation, but those other ones can really destroy the ecology of the lake if left to completely spread. So just like us, believe it or not, plants do consume oxygen over the evening, and when you have way too much biomass, it strips the oxygen out of the water, and that oxygen is not available for fisheries and other organisms that consume oxygen. And it also limits the habitat, the swimming open water area. So those are the 2 main mechanisms in which aquatic plants, when they're aggressive and extensive, really limit the ecology. So Judy, if you don't mind advancing the slides again, please. So the next couple of slides are just showing you the presence, where we detected fanwort, variable milfoil, and the 2 other main ones. What I wanted to point out here for tonight, which we'll turn it over to Dominic from Solitude later, I'm sure, but historically, you've seen only the non-native plants up in the northern end of the lake. We are now starting to see them down in the southern end of the lake. So this is kind of problematic. And fanwort has the capability of really taking over this entire lake. So it's very important to control it while you can when the biomass is minimal, before it gets too lake shore to shore, and you can almost like walk across the lake at sometimes because it's so thick. So you can advance the slide again, please. Here's the brittle naiad that, again, it's just like the other ones in Eurasian milfoil. It's really coming in, or kind of abundant in the northern end of the lake. They haven't reached down to the southern end, at least during the surveys that we performed. But again, they are also plants that are something that we should watch and potentially control. Like I said, there's a lot of native vegetation in here that's helpful, and we want to protect that. So the goal is not really to remove all the plants, it's to be selective in what we remove. Judy, if you don't mind advancing the slide, please. So I think from here, turning it over to somebody else.
Yeah, I'll take it back over. Thank you,
you.
Wendy. ARC has been a great resource. They've been doing a great job. So we definitely are thankful that they're here. And if you guys have any technical questions about that, they'll be around to answer. So that's great. So one of the other concerns has always been the water quality. We do a considerable amount of water quality sampling, sediment sampling. We work with the CIG and the LMPA. We work with the health department. We have to do additional sampling that DPW does with the consultant for stormwater. So I just wanted to point out that there's been plenty of water quality sampling that has shown that Lake Massanuck has pretty good water quality. All right, next slide, please. At this point, I was going to turn it over to Sabine to kind of give a little overview of some of the public education outreach efforts they have done.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Sabine St. Pierre, president of the Lake Maspinock Preservation Association. So our main focus has really been on putting together a collective effort on some proactive preventative initiatives. So we've been educating people again in the spring and the fall, most specifically on the fertilizers. You know, we've been working with Judy Day and Concom on educating people about the law, as well as companies, landscape companies. And Judy, I believe, has probably already sent out, I think, almost like 30 letters to local landscape companies, just, letting them be aware of the law and making sure that they're using non-phosphorus fertilizers. We're really trying to control what's running off into the water. So educating people on buffer zones, do's and don'ts, the spring and fall cleanup. Judy came last year to our general meeting in May and talked about buffer zone do's and don'ts. She and I are actually going to meet this Thursday to talk about what we want to talk about at this year's general meeting in May. We also have been researching the boat ramp monitor program through the DCR, because we also feel like if we can start to control what's coming into the lake, that will also be helpful in mitigating future growth. So we're going to trial possibly some volunteers that'll get trained and just see how it goes during some of the busy times, and educating people on, clean, drain, dry, what the aquatic hitchhiker law is, so people are just aware. Also working with Parks and Rec on when people buy season passes. We'll be talking about this at our Sandy Beach meeting on Thursday, having a little flyer, again, that just tells them about the aquatic hitchhiker law and clean, draining, and drying their boat before they put it in. We also had an email that I sent out with Melissa and Judy to the state who did the boat certification class that people are required to take over the next couple of years. Hundreds of people are going to be going through that. They talk about aquatic invasive weeds and washing your boats, but there was really no information on it. So I just requested that with the amount of people that have to take this course in the next couple of years, maybe including a handout in their class, and they already have the handouts made. I haven't heard a response back, but hoping that we'll hear something. So I think we're going to continue just we're also talking with Sustainable Green Committee and working on some initiatives that we can do together. It takes a village, as I think many people on this call are aware of. We all kind of have to work together. So it's, and all the stuff obviously that Kerry put on the slide, but it's just a continual effort in hopes of, preventing future growth while we work to maintain balance in the lake. Thanks.
Kerry, can folks hear me? Can you folks hear me or see me?
We can hear you. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Go ahead, Kerry. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right. Thank you, Sabine. So what we got? This is just a highlight of some of the additional work that we've been doing over the past year. This was a really cool event, Aquatic Invasive Species Workshop. It was hosted by the SUASCO, which is Sudbury, Aspet, Concord Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, thanks, SISM. All these acronyms, aquatic invasives, but basically it was the watershed group that partnered with the DCR Lakes and Ponds, gave a great workshop we were able to host at the library. There's a lot of members. You can see Conservation Commission. We had some interns. We had some folks from the lake, some folks from the Sustainable Green Committee. So it was a really cool event. All right, what do we got next? Next slide. Thank you. All right, so the crux of why we're coming to you before you is we have this order of conditions for weed management at the lake that was based off of the research and stuff like that, a bunch of conditions. It has a summary of a toolbox. So it has all these tools that we could use. So this slide just provides that overall summary of all those tools that are authorized, kind of the estimated cost, how intensive they are, how we think they will do, and then the probability of success for Lake Maspinock. And you can go over that. So a lot of times you hear about, why aren't you trying this? Why aren't you trying that? We've evaluated all these tools, and the advisory group, which has been tasked with evaluating these and making recommendations, has reviewed all these. So what do we got? Next slide, please. What has been used and what has worked and what hasn't. So we do our regular drawdowns. They've been, somewhat successful. We had an extended drawdown this year. We will wait to see how it worked. We had early ice out conditions this year, which caused not the best conditions. We really like to have exposure so we can get all that freezing, but we had the ice out early. And then it kind of created a little bit of insulation and then some safety concerns. So we weren't able to draw down as much as we wanted or expose those sediments as much as we wanted to the cold, although we did have a lot of nice cold weather. But we also had a lot of snow that provided a lot of insulation. So we'll evaluate that in the spring and see how that extended drawdown did. Benthic barriers and hand harvesting has been done at small local areas, and it works okay, but it's not good for a broader thing. We have not tried mechanical harvesting, but we have done some additional research, the CIG and the LMPA, and we've been speaking to a couple different folks about those options. Still don't think it's the best option for us. And then the herbicide treatment was last done in June 2024, and that was very successful. But then the weeds reemerged in the summer of 2025. Next slide, please. So again, this kind of summarizes the options that were implemented. These are all based on recommendations from the CIG and from the toolbox that was available with the order of conditions. At this point, Joe, do you want to add anything about the CIG's kind of impression of how these have went and why they're recommending the herbicide treatment for 2026?
Yes, and thank you for the good summary. So the weed control group, we get, I don't want to say accused, but folks in opposition to the herbicide sort of suggest that we sort of knee-jerk just recommend herbicide and don't really explore other alternatives in the toolbox. And I just really want to stress that that's just not the case, and we do spend quite a bit of time looking at other alternatives. Kerry went through the toolbox. The one thing that we are spending quite a bit of time looking at, as recommended by folks on the Sustainability Green Committee and other folks, is the mechanical harvesting, to see if that would be a feasible alternative for the North Basin as compared to the herbicide. And about a couple months ago, Sabine and I both participated in I think it was the Sudbury Co-op invasive species group, where they had folks from 4 or 5 towns come in and talk about their weed control experiences. And a big part of that was talking about their experience with mechanical harvesting. And we have followed up on that with conversations with Wellesley, who has a no herbicide policy, period. So they spend a lot of money and time doing mechanical harvesting. And we've also followed up with Echo Harvester Company, whatever that company is, that uses the Echo Harvester, which pulls the weeds up from further down, so you get more of the weed base. And so we are exploring those alternatives. At this point, we don't see them as feasible alternatives to using the herbicide, particularly this year, on a very, again, limited basis. But we are exploring it. There's a lot of logistics and a lot of costs. So that might be something we're hoping maybe use one of the harvester devices, maybe part of a pilot program for next summer if the weeds come back. It seems like the herbicide does a pretty good job the year it's applied. The weeds start coming back the following year. So, we'll maybe try harvesting on a pilot basis. But even the towns that we spoke to that are using some of these mechanical harvesting devices, they're doing maybe 3 acres in a day, 2 or 3 acres in a day. at a very hefty cost. And logistics are you have to have a place to dump the stuff that's very close by because you have to keep making trips. These harvesters don't hold a lot of the weed material. So, we're treating, when we do the herbicide last time, and what we're proposing this time is 50 acres, really, in the North Basin. So, I could see us doing maybe some harvesting down the road to complement the other tools in the toolbox, but I don't see it supplanting what we're recommending. It's just not going to work. And the other items in the toolbox, particularly for the North Basin, as we've told folks before, other tools in the toolbox just aren't a practical way of doing it. So, and even the towns that are using the harvesters, those towns, other than Wellesley, are saying that they are using these other devices and the harvesting in combination with limited herbicide. So even those towns who do have the experience with harvesting aren't using those as a substitute for limited herbicide. So I just thought that's important because we do spend, as a committee, and with the LMPA and with Kerry, we do spend a lot of time exploring all the alternatives. And I think sometimes it gets sort of lost in translation. So.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Judy, if you can go to the next slide, please. All right. So we basically went over this. So our recommendation for 2026 is to continue the vegetation surveys, to do herbicide treatment, and to continue the regular drawdown. And Solitude would be our applicator. So if you go to the next slide. Fabulous. We have, I believe, Dom and Tanner here from Solitude, so they can it's very similar to what was done in 2024, but they can give a brief overview of what we intend to do. So I will point out, though, before I put them on the spot, that we just got under a contract with them. Obviously, we had to come before the Conservation Commission to get approval. So we haven't fleshed out like the full plan yet, and there will be several submittals that are required under or order of condition that will be submitted after this discussion if the commission decides to allow us to go ahead with this. So with that being said, Dominic or Tanner, are you here?
I am. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So for 2026, Tanner Poole, Solitude Lake Management Project Manager. And pretty much so for 2026, we decided to go with a couple of different products to effectively treat the invasives found within Lake Maspenock. Starting off, we have Tribune, which is more of a contact herbicide. It's really good for treating those sparser pockets of milfoil, kind of like where they're less established. Really good for that, and as well as those kind of high use areas, like your recreational areas, your boat ramps, or your kind of beach areas. We also have, the chosen Percellacor, for its effectiveness and selectivity for milfoil. It's really known for controlling dense pockets of milfoil and keeping those plants away for a good amount of time. And lastly, we're going to use flumioxazin from fanwort. It's another contact herbicide, but it's very good at controlling fanwort and keeping it down for this season. Anticipated treatment is later this summer, kind of June, July, around time frame when biomass is starting to grow, but not kind of when we've reached like peak biomass. And our treatment areas, like I said, are pretty much based on 50 acres, but we kind of based out our treatment with the herbicides, and we're pretty flexible based on how the pre-treatment survey will come back. We can use those numbers and be kind of flexible to where we need the herbicide to be.
Yeah, thanks, Taryn. I just like to add to that. Obviously, we're going to finish tailoring kind of the herbicide program once the pre-treatment survey is done and we see where the plants are returning. But we did make some assumptions, at least initially, for the contracting and the bid process, and using the 2025 survey maps from ARC. Ideally, we're also obviously working within a certain budget as well. I mean, the Procella core is sort of preferred for milfoil growth because it is systemic and will provide multiple years control, but it is very expensive herbicide. So I think the idea here is just to try to tailor. And when we did the treatment in 2024, we kind of treated all the treatment areas the same. There wasn't a lot of fanwort back in 2024, but there's definitely more fanwort this time around. So we were just trying to really tailor the program for the specific areas and of the different types of weeds, and trying to use the products that are most selective and most efficacious on those particular plants. So certainly some more details to be kind of worked out here after the survey, but I think that's the general plan here.
Great, thank you. So with that, I think the next slide is just questions. But I hope you saw that we've done a lot of research. We've got a great team here together that's working together, and everybody's available if we have any specific questions from the commission.
All right, thank you, Carrie and team. And thank you all for the efforts on this, Sabine, for the public education and outreach efforts, all that crew does, and Joey, appreciate the exploration of continued exploration of different options. It's really what the commission will continue to look for going forward. So there's obviously a lot of people working on this, and we appreciate that. I do have a couple questions. One of them, in regards to the types of weeds changing, concentrations changing, seemingly quite a bit over the past few years. Is there any explanation for that, or does that have to do with previous treatments and other things growing in, or are there any theories on why, the variety of plants changes so much, or seems to have changed?
Yeah, I'm trying to see who's still on here. And Wendy, are you still around? Can you answer that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, my involvement has been really limited to this past year, but I will say that there is natural variability that occurs within the same lake year to year. Some lakes are, like we see with the weather, it depends on when the warmer weather starts. Something might start off really strong in the beginning, and that kind of overtakes, so something else may not grow up. Clasping leaf pondweed is probably a good example. Dominic can speak to some years he goes out to one lake and treats for clasping weed, and then all of a sudden you don't see it for 5 years, and then it's back with a vengeance. Same thing with bladderwort and some other plants. So a lot of it is unpredictable. We think it has a lot to do with weather and competition between plants themselves. Obviously, new introductions are always interesting when you get something new for the first time, and to see how that competes. We've seen fanwort is probably the most consistently outcompeting just about everything out there, but other times you see even non-native species compete among themselves. So some year one non-native species will be more abundant than the other. In terms of what your history has been for this leak, I'd have to rely on those that have been monitoring. The volunteer group I know does a pretty extensive monitoring themselves. Maybe they have an opinion as well as Dom. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's great.
Melissa, I can speak to that. Joe Baldiga. So we've been doing the surveys, as you know, on the boats twice a year for the last, I've only been doing it for maybe 6 or 7 years, but other people have been doing it for 10 or 15 years. And we are always amazed at how different from year to year, the different invasive species that we see. Sometimes you see the tape grass, curly, or the one that curlicue. Sabine always knows the names, but sometimes you see the curlicue one coming to the top. Other years we go out and you don't see that at all. So even before we did the limited herbicide treatment in 24, that variability was present year to year.
Okay. No, thank you. That definitely speaks to the importance of the pre-survey in the spring, I'd say.
And it's great they do that. Solitude really does go out and look at every inch that they're going to treat. So it's pretty good.
Okay. One of my other questions was, so I know just we talked a lot about the steps that have taken to get to the point that we're at right now. But I know that also our permit or order of conditions for this expires in 2027, so this time next year. So we'll have to be looking at renewing the plan, looking at it again, another notice of intent, or whatever the DPW wants to do there. And I did see in the 2025 vegetation report by ARC some recommendations in that report for going forward and considering shoreline invasive species and developing a watershed-based management plan to kind of identify any potential nutrient sources and loading and things like that. Are these things that you anticipate, looking at coming up, continuing these efforts?
Yeah, I can answer that. So I think we are looking at implementing those. We've hired ARC to continue to provide consulting services for us. They're going to help us with the update of the plan, the weed management plan, which we do every 5 years. And then as part of that process, we'll look at the rest of those recommendations. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to incorporate some of those recommendations into the plan update. And then I think we should, I agree, the watershed-based management plan. I think I even saw some grant come out with that, but to try to have that matches like the state standards and might qualify us for some additional grant funding. But I think that's where we want to go. Obviously, our first step is to get past this summer, and then something that we can look at when we get all these results and all the survey results.
And we talk quite a bit with the LMPA that their education efforts really have to be broader than just, the folks who live adjacent to the lake or immediately, across the street or something. Because if you look at the watershed, right? I mean, the watershed is all the way up at School Street and other folks. And we really have to educate more broadly as to use of fertilizer and picking up dog waste and things of that sort, right? Because that's all flowing right down West Main Street, coming right into the lake. So that is a big part of what we talk about with the LMPA.
And
okay,
can I jump in for a second?
Through the chair, may I jump in just for a moment?
Okay, Ted, yeah.
I'm just in my role of Concom timekeeper. I just want to let you know that it is now 8:52.
Okay, thank you.
7:52.
Oh, 7, sorry, but we are 52 minutes into the meeting.
Okay.
I'll just real quickly say, yes, so as Joe said, thinking about our outreach more than just waterfronts, reaching the people up at the top of Hayward, School Street. We did a Lake Health campaign in September, and we put some signage out over on West Elm as well. So broadening that scope is definitely a piece that we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Ted. With that being said, I'm going to open it up to other commission members for any questions or comments they have at this point in time. I think the ultimate goal here, or the purpose tonight, is we do need to vote on, this recommendation by the DPW. So that's where we're headed. Go ahead, Jim.
Melissa, I just have a question for Joe, I guess. I think you mentioned, Joe, doing boat surveys. If someone's been checking out the boats to see what kind of weeds, whether they're clean or not, is that part of what's been happening?
Yep. So the surveys I was talking about was when we go out twice a year and check on the weeds. But the point that you're making, Jim, or the question you're asking, is something we definitely are concerned with. And I think there's been signage added to where the boat ramps are. And we are talking with the LMPA and the DPW how to enhance those efforts. We don't have the ability to have a boat wash stand at the boat ramp. So that's a big problem. But it really is. So what do you do with boats that come in from, other areas, other states that, maybe don't care, or they're not the recipients of our outreach in the education program? You'd like to think they're already knowledgeable about that, but they aren't necessarily. So when we treated, whoops, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sabine.
Sorry, Joe, just sorry to interrupt you, but so that's the boat ramp monitor program I referenced earlier from the DCR. You can have people trained, and for now it would be a volunteer trial basis that we would do during busy times, where we would have someone monitoring the boat ramp and explaining to people, non-confrontational, but just explaining to people and educating them on the hitchhiker law. We do have signage down there, but we're thinking this is a good next step to really kind of proactively educate people.
Yeah, I think that's good. And at this point, I mean, there are whole states that have, advertised or whatever, put out there, especially Maine, that you gotta clean your boats before you bring them in. I would hope that most boaters are responsible. I like the idea of the volunteer program. Let us know, because if possible, I'd love to volunteer for that. Thanks, you guys.
Great, thank you.
Through the chair, I have two questions. I'll throw them both out.
Yep.
The first is kind of building on one of Melissa's questions. I heard chatter, and chatter can be completely worthless, but I wanted to throw it out. I heard chatter that a theory was that the last herbicide treatment was so effective that it opened the door for even greater growth or new growth or different growth in weeds. And I wonder if there's any validity to that theory. My other question is, I do remember reading that after the last herbicide treatment, the water quality was looking good and there didn't seem to be any lingering effects. I don't remember if there was a test of the soil after the herbicide treatment underneath the lake and what that showed.
So I'll answer the second question first, because there was sampling, because there were concerns. So the Board of Health did some sediment sampling and didn't see any residual herbicide or anything of concern. We continue to do water quality sampling as both with the volunteers, stormwater, and then at the beach. And last year there was no concerns that were brought up with the water quality. So that's an easy one to answer. And then the first one, and I'll let others chime in too. I mean, there's some truth to the chatter, right? So the herbicide treatment was successful and it got rid of some weeds, and it was targeted at trying to get rid of those specific weeds. So other things did take their place, but that's kind of the natural cycle of how things go. And that's why we do the pre and post survey. I don't think, based on how I saw the survey results, that we saw like a significant return with a vengeance or density issues or different areas. I think it was mostly just the types of weeds that came back were different.
And that's exactly what happened, Kerry. And don't forget, we're not killing all weeds. We're not killing native weeds, right? It's very targeted selection. So yes, we had a different population of some invasive weeds come up. We also had increased growth of non-invasive weeds, which is what we want. It's not a desert out there, right? There's a lot of growth, and there's always going to be a lot of growth. The lake, the North Basin is very shallow, so it's not like if we kill stuff with the herbicide, nothing's going to grow, right? Stuff is going to grow. But I think a measure of success is we did not get just a repeat of the same invasive weeds coming up, which to me was a sign of success, not a sign of, the fact that stuff grew. Stuff is always going to grow, and you got to attack it.
So, Melissa, if I may, then one quick follow-up.
Sure.
I'm aware of all of the difficulties in doing mechanical harvesting and some of the other tools in the toolbox. In cost, whether the rocky bottom makes it more difficult or whether the machine can bump off the rocky bottom. Let's just pretend we did nothing but mechanical harvesting and all weeds were removed. Would we see the same type of regrowth? Would we see a different type of regrowth? Do we have no idea because we've never done that?
So don't forget, whoops, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have no idea because we've never done that. But as part of the research, the folks that we talked to said it comes back. The weeds come back. So any of these are a management technique that it has to continuously be managed. It's just a matter of which management technique we choose. And some, as you point out, are less feasible. Some are, more labor intensive. But any which way, it's a natural system. The weeds are going to come back. If the town wants to use it for these recreational purposes and wants to keep that ecological system a little bit more in balance because it is a man-made lake, we're going to have to manage it in some way, shape, or form. But
the harvesting does not discriminate, Ted.
Yeah.
Right? When you're harvesting, people are concerned about, I've heard a lot of concerns, right? Oh, what are you doing to the fish population, right? They need the weeds to live in.
Yep.
Well, when you're harvesting, you're doing exactly what people have accused us of doing, which is you're creating a, dearth of natural weeds.
Right.
That's what harvesting is. It's not discriminating. So here we are, but at the same time, I can envision us a year from now coming in front of this board and saying, you know what? Let's try it on a pilot program in a small area and see what kind of results we have. But
yeah, and I get all that, and I think I understand it. My only real hesitation then is, are we building a cycle where every 2 years we're putting more chemicals in the lake when we have hesitated for so long? If it works as well as it did, but it also invites the type of regrowth we have, is this now a tool that comes out every 2 years? And that's just a bit of a worry. I know that nobody likes having the idea of a lake filled with chemicals. I know that that's true of every resident on the lake and everyone who uses it. Nonetheless, I just want to throw out, that's my concern, is that we're starting to build a cycle where every 2 years now we're doing more and maybe widening applications.
And I hear what you're saying, but there's no indication that this is in any way causing us to widen the application. If anything, I would suggest it's the opposite, because what we were starting to see before we did the herbicide treatment were the presence of weeds in areas past South Beach, Sandy Beach, because the weeds were getting chopped up in the North Basin and they were starting to migrate to the south of Sandy Beach. So that's without treatment. And the way you phrased it is that by doing the limited treatment, we're somehow, I forget what your exact words were, but inviting enhanced growth of invasive weeds. And I disagree with that as a starting premise, because I don't think that's the case. And I know opponents to herbicide keep throwing that out without, science to support that. I don't see us as doing that. Is there always going to be growth where the water is 5 feet deep and there's a lot of sediment at the bottom? Absolutely. But just because we're killing invasive weeds doesn't cause there to be more growth. Anyway, maybe the scientists on the line can talk to that, but I think that's an incorrect premise.
I'll be quiet. I'm not trying to propose incorrect premises. I'm just trying to process the different things I've heard. So I apologize if I didn't represent myself very well. But that's it for me.
I think your comments are good comments.
Yeah, let's go on to some other questions.
Through the chair.
Walter, yes.
Yes, hi. I've been watching this process for over 14 years. I've seen how it has progressed and the amount of work that has been done by the town, by the citizens. The CIG was an excellent choice by the select board. People have worked very hard on this process. They've taken input from every person in town. The toolbox that they came up with, I think, was a very rational one. And I have to say that the treatment that took place in 24 was wildly successful. I've never enjoyed the lake more, period. And we knew, or at least my understanding was, and that's why we're looking at this now. Occasionally we would have to revisit it. My view is that as you treat the weeds, you over time are going to have less. So yes, we may be at this point now, but who knows? Maybe it's 5 years before the next time we have to have this discussion. But I do know that the other methods that have been suggested, and they are in the toolbox. One is, pulling up the weeds, but in my viewpoint, that's almost identical to mowing your lawn. If you go cut off the weeds and harvest them, you're just essentially mowing the lawn, and they're like your lawn. It comes right back. So we're not dredging, we're not digging up the bottom when you do the harvesting. So, and it's very expensive, and I just don't think that's the way to go at all. And I heard some comments about putting chemicals in the lake. These have a very temporary life, and I know the wetland scientists can speak to that. It's not like they're remaining. You put them in, they do their job, they dissipate, they're gone. Carrie talked about testing the lake bed. So it's something that I feel is necessary to protect this incredible asset for the town. And I know that everybody that saw what happened at 24 appreciated it. And I hope we continue to have the due diligence that people are using here to manage the process and make recommendations. I think they're doing an outstanding job, and it's all volunteer, with the exception of the folks that work for the town. And I hope we can see fit to pass this tonight and keep these outstanding efforts going. It's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Walter.
Sure.
Anyone else on the commission before I open it up for public comment? Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment. And Ted, if you don't mind watching the 2-minute marker. And
I think that in the script it's a 3-minute marker.
Oh, 3 minutes. Okay.
And since you hired the guy who can't tell time to be the timekeeper, I'll do the best I can.
Thanks, Ted. All right, I'm going to open it up to public comment, and if we could take comments, just I want to get everyone's views, but if we can avoid repeat comments, new information is much appreciated. And if I see hands, I will call on you. Mr. Sutherland.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Don Sutherland, 205 Winter Street. I'm chair of the Environmental Working Group of the Hopkinton Sustainable Green Committee. And I want to commend the Lake Maspinock Preservation Association, SIG, and DPW for their due diligence over the years. We've seen a lot of work in terms of assessment and options that have been laid out to handle the difficult task of managing lake vegetation, both for the public. The lake also serves not only boaters, but other life forms. That's to be kept in mind. There's an ecosystem, not just, and these plants aren't all weeds. They've been referred to, by the way, as just that. They are plants. Some are invasives. But basically, we are in alignment with SIG and Lake Maspinock Association's first choice, which is to manage Lake Maspinock's vegetation without chemicals, without chemical pollution. That's the first choice, as I understand it from both groups, that's their first choice. What we do oppose is the fact that they haven't held on to that choice and tried, as they've been researching recently and developing more of an approach less towards chemical pollution. Now, as far as the science goes, which has been brought up, and this is EPA science, the science and studies on the use of toxic chemicals, herbicides clearly show the plants, as we've noted, are only mitigated in the short term and will return. Federal and state environmental agencies also warn the nutrients released from the killed plants cause more future plant growth. They just don't disappear. They die and they settle into the bottom. So it promotes future plant growth, and also that in itself can lead to toxic algal blooms and more applications of herbicides. That is known, as Ted was mentioning, as a herbicide treadmill. But it's be kept in mind that these chemicals are chemicals that are only one purpose. It's to kill life. That's it. That's what they're made to do. And the use of toxic herbicides designed to kill the targeted unwanted plant life forms also target the non-targeted group that are beneficial. And it also harms the invertebrate and vertebrate life forms. Now, just to give you an example of that, one of the two chemicals used in 2024, diquat, is banned in Europe. Because it's toxic to humans and it kills.
Mr. Sutherland, if you could finish up, I'm sorry, that's 3 minutes. If you could get.
That's it. I'm just setting up. One of the chemicals has been banned in Europe for the very reason that it does kill invertebrate and vertebrate life forms, as well as harmful to humans. So I just want to mention that the DEP and the DCR do not use chemical herbicides on Quabbin and the Wachusett lakes, reservoirs. Those are not used for a good reason, because they are harmful. And that's to be kept in mind, even though they are permitted. So I just want to mention that we are more in favor of working with the group as it was laid out, as they've been mentioned in the Lake Maspinock Aquatic Vegetation Control and Watershed Management Plan of 2021 to use the other four toolbox.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Do I have any other hands? All right, just scrolling. Donald's iPad. That's what I see.
There, now I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
Carol Essler, 16 Oakhurst Road, 40 years of having a dock on the lake and swimming in the lake. I am completely opposed to the ecological, irresponsible, and dangerous requests to use poisons in our lake. I will mention I'm also a member of Sustainable Green Committee. And I will mention that one of the chemicals used last time in the quote unquote successful weed management was not only banned in Europe, but banned in 70 countries. That's not 17, that's 70 countries worldwide for reasons of problems with potentially very harmful harms to human health. I'm not educated as to the new chemicals that people are proposing. I will say that I have some trouble with the word targeted. If any of you would like to take a bowl of clear water and put a drop of food coloring in it, you can see how targeted things are in the lake. Not very targeted at all. I'm very much opposed to poisoning our lake. And I think our toolbox, which was made many years ago, needs a lot of updating. The only things we've used so far are drawdown and herbicide. Now, herbicide was supposed to be the very last possible thing to use. We have not used hand pulling, and people say, oh, pieces get away. Well, we've not used diver-assisted suction harvesting. We've only begun to look at the eco harvester, which really needs to be used. And the proposal to use it in that little patch of lake that nobody swims in and nobody can get a kayak in is just ridiculous. It needs to be used in areas that we really use. And I do want to question what we are managing the lake for. Are we managing it wholly for human convenience, or are we managing it to preserve and respect an ecosystem? An ecosystem that includes zooplankton and copepods and things that eat algae, things that might prevent a toxic algal bloom, things that are part of the total biome of our lake. Who are we managing this lake for? I do not see the 2024 application as successful. It reduced weeds. Weeds always change and come back. And it also reduced the amount of waterfowl. I don't know who else in here lives on the upper basin, but
you have 15 seconds remaining.
And notice that.
Ms. Hessler, you're at 3 minutes.
There. I've got someone else here. I'll back away. Next.
Okay. New information. Let's just not repeat what's already been said. And I also just want to say, as we're taking public comment, we'll just remember that this is a toolbox that, we approved through the notice of intent process, for the 5-year permit, and it's in place, and we vetted a lot of these things. The commission, took a lot of comments. The toolbox was created for use, and the decision presented to us tonight is whether, this is an appropriate measure for this year, given the data that's been collected. So I'd really like to focus on that for this year. And as I said before, this permit expires in the next growing season or next year. And that was very purposeful by the commission, that we have a finite timeline, and then we get to reevaluate, the notice of intent and how things were working and what happens into the future. So go ahead, you can proceed with your comments with that in mind. Thank you.
Okay, Don Kaiser, I live on the lake. I swim every day. I spend 45 minutes, an hour in the lake every day. I particularly don't like herbicides. I do want to deal with the plant. I'll just have a question here for Wendy, because she's probably the expert among all of us. I keep hearing people talk about herbicides that are specific to a particular invasive. And I don't think there's any herbicide on this planet that only attacks a single plant and does not have collateral damage. And I'd like Wendy to address that question. Thank you.
Hi, good evening again. I sure will. And you're right, there's not one thing out there that attacks one single plant. It is a matter of dosing. And so there's a lot of scientific studies that have been done where they dose certain mesocosms, basically buckets, and they look at what dose can you apply a particular herbicide without a lot of non-target impacts. So there's nothing what people would call a safe herbicide. Everything is, to me, a risk. Either it's very low risk or it can be very high risk. And even the selective herbicides in certain circumstances can impact non-target species. So everything comes at a risk. In terms of why herbicides may or may not impact macroinvertebrates or fish. A lot of these herbicides are attacking specific cells that only exist in plants. So though you're talking about anything that's photosynthetic, and a lot of the, obviously fish are not photosynthetic organisms, neither are a lot of the macroinvertebrates. So they can be selective for photosynthetic organisms, and then they can be further selective within that range. And so each species, just like humans, respond to different cancer treatments in different ways. Same thing applies here.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other hands raised from the public? Anyone else that wishes to speak? All right, I'm just scrolling through to make sure that I don't miss anyone. Okay. I think I got everybody. All right, thank you all for your comments. As I said, we're gonna make a decision now on, or we're gonna take a vote. I'm gonna put it to the board on this proposal for treatment.
Melissa, do we
Yes,
need to make a motion? Do you need a motion, or just are you gonna just call for a vote?
Yes, that's where I was going with that. I do need a motion to approve DPW's proposal.
I will make a motion to approve the DPW's recommendation.
Can I get a second?
I'll second, Melissa.
All right, all in favor? Ted?
Ted will say aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I will also say aye. All right. So thank you all. Thank you, Carrie, and team. And we'll look forward to continuing to work with you. As you said, it takes a village to tackle this. It took
Melissa.
a long time. Yes.
I just want to specifically thank Sabine and the LMPA. When we first voted on this a few years ago, I was kind of skeptical of how much the LMPA would do to help us out. And I've been really, really impressed over the last 3 years. And I really appreciate the work of Sabine and everyone else over there.
Thank you, Ted. That means a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Okay. Have a good night. All right. And next up, I'm going to jump up to the new hearings. First up, we have Town of Hopkinton DPW Notice of Intent. I'm going to recuse myself from this hearing because Ty and Bond, who I work for, is presenting on behalf of DPW. So I'm going to let Ted take it over.
Thank you. So yeah, we had some emails today and we kind of scrambled to figure out how to deal with this one and what votes might be for going forward. Because I am still wrapping my head around what this new, I got to open the hearing though first. So let me do that.
I have an administrative question for you all too before we get too far.
Judy, should we do that or should I open the hearing first?
Might be good to open the hearing first.
Okay, so let me do that. And then Johnsonburg, we'll run to you in a second. Okay, public hearing. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in a notice of intent filed by Hopkinton DPW for routine roadway, drainage, and utility work and maintenance throughout the town of Hopkinton. Location, town-wide Hopkinton roadways and easements. Okay, with that, why don't you go ahead for your quick question, and then maybe I can get Judy to get us started on what we have in front of us.
All right, so Maria Johnsonburg with Ty and Bond on behalf of the DPW. I wanted to ask, because I wasn't expecting to have quite so few members of the commission here tonight, because Melissa is recusing herself for this hearing. I wanted to confirm that commissioners that are not here are going to have access to the recording so that we have enough members to vote at a subsequent meeting. That's my administrative question that I want to confirm before we go too far.
And as a matter of fact, that was a part of the emails we were exchanging this afternoon in preparation for this meeting. So I wonder if, Judy, if you could help us out understand where we are as a commission and what things look like going forward, what we can cover tonight, what might need to be continued. Can you help with that?
Sure. So even without Melissa, I believe we do have a quorum between you, Matt, Walter, and Jim. But basically the advice we got from town council was that since Melissa works for Ty and Bond, she would need to recuse herself or obtain special permission from the select board to be able to participate in the hearing. We just learned that today, so there was not time to go to select board to get that permission. Town council did advise that even after recusing herself today, if she gets that permission in the future, she can participate in future hearings. And recordings will be available for the members who are not present today.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Maybe our next best step is Ms. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say Johannesburg when I look up in the corner, and I know that's not right. Johnsonburg. If you could give us a summary of the presentation, it was a very, very thick document, but maybe you could summarize a little bit what it is you guys are asking for and the DPW is asking for.
Yes. So a little bit of background on this. The DPW has historically done this work through an RDA with the commission. And more recently, Mass DEP recommended that it really be done through an NOI, an order of conditions, instead. So what we're proposing in this NOI is all stuff that has previously been approved through the RDA process in the past, but the last RDA expired, so instead of an RDA this time, we're coming to you with a notice of intent. I know it's a complicated document. Essentially, the DPW does a lot of maintenance work around town, and for a lot of reasons, we want to streamline the process for them getting to do that work. Sometimes it's a safety thing, it needs to be done immediately. Sometimes it's just something that is routinely exempt anyway. So it just streamlines the process a lot, both for you and the DPW and overall town funds, et cetera, to have a streamlined process. So that's the goal for this. What we've done is we've split the kinds of work that might happen into 5 categories. The first 2 categories are essentially types of work that are categorically exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act and your local bylaw. The third category is stuff that is not categorically exempt, but that usually when we come talk to you, you would give us permission to go do. And then the fourth category is very similar to the third category. The difference is that it asks to be able to do what's in the third category within your no disturb and no build zones. And then the fifth category is pretty much everything else, which would require coming back to you with a separate notice of intent. That's the large breakdown of these 5 categories. So do we have any questions about that before I go into further? Because I want to make sure that we understand that before we dive in too deeply.
I'll look to the commission. I'm ready to hear more, but I'll look to the commission if anyone has any questions at this point. And if you do, I'm flipping through, but feel free to speak up. Okay, I don't see any. So I think please keep it rolling.
Sounds good. So generally speaking, the Wetlands Protection Act and the Wetlands Bylaw allow kind of regular maintenance and repair activities, particularly when they are in the buffer zone and within upland portions of riverfront area. So that's really what's in category 2, is that these activities are usually exempt in those areas. I don't want to go through the regulations line by line because that's not fun for anyone and can get confusing. So generally speaking, the activities that get covered under those first 2 categories are maintenance of unpaved pedestrian walkways, plantings of native non-invasive species, shrubs, ground cover, conversion of impervious to vegetated surfaces, so any gravel or paved areas, converting those into vegetated surfaces, that's generally allowed. Maintaining fences, stone walls, wood cord, the things that don't provide a barrier to wildlife movement, mowing of pre-existing lawns and pruning of pre-existing landscaped areas, vista pruning in some limited cases. You have the list there. Conversion of lawn to use as accessory to residential structures, removal of dead and dying trees, which are essentially a safety hazard, repair of existing structures, provided that we're not changing the footprint of the structure, and activities that are temporary in nature. These are typically things like installing monitoring wells or exploratory soil borings or other kinds of sampling that are done in preparation of future work or to inform design for future things that typically then come back to you as their own notice of intent. So those are really the kinds of activities that fall under those first two categories that are just typically exempt. If we go to category 3, we have a much longer list of activities that we're asking to be able to do. And again, these activities are typically considered pretty minor, especially when they're in buffer zone and riverfront area. We have also asked that we be able to do these activities in land subject to flooding. For the larger audience, land subject to flooding under the Wetlands Protection Act is defined as the FEMA 100-year flood zone. And that zone can oftentimes come out and cover a lot of areas that are well outside of what we would typically consider our wetland areas, and tend to overlap a lot of roadways and things like that, which is why we're asking to do this. So we'd like to be able to resurface parking lots, sidewalks, and driveways. This is really an in-kind resurfacing. It's not expanding these areas at all. It's repairing what is already there. So it's not really an overall change in state. Similarly, pavement repair and resurfacing within the right-of-way, generally speaking, maintaining unpaved access ways, cleaning catch basins, flushing or cleaning, repairing, or replacing storm drain pipelines, stabilizing existing embankments with riprap vegetation or biodegradable materials, maintaining public recreational lawns, athletic fields, and recreational structures, repairing or replacing signs, signals, posts, and associated infrastructure around that, maintaining roadside plantings and vegetation within existing roadways and right-of-ways, maintaining, repairing, and replacing subterranean utilities, repairing or replacing public infrastructure, maintaining gravel or stone dust roads, parking areas and paths, maintaining swales and drainage channels, repairing head walls associated with existing outfalls, cleaning and maintaining dam embankments, cleaning and maintaining bridge decks and abutments, maintaining stormwater management systems, snow storage and disposal, and removal of trees when they've been authorized by the tree warden. I'm going to pause there. That was a very long list. Are there any particular activities that I just threw out there that you'd like any more details about what they include or don't include before I keep going?
I'll again look to the commission for a moment, but I do have, I hope, a quick question. Again, this document is 120 pages, I think, and a whole lot of the back end of it is common practices. So when you hit one, for example, like repaving of road surfaces, on the one hand, it's already impervious material, and generally we are okay with work to, but there's also erosion controls involved in those kind of things. Can you just touch on maybe for some of these, which seem like they could be more impactful, how we have the certainty if we give a blank approval of all these activities, that those kind of precautions will be carried out in a way that we probably would vote in favor of if we got those projects individually.
Absolutely. So the reason that we included all those practices as attachments, which, if we're being really blunt, make up a large portion of the document, is because those are the practices that we are recommending the DPW use, and that we are recommending that you as the commission require them to use for this work. So these are essentially the practices that we're saying they should use, and that we very much want you to say you can only do this work if you use them. So to that end, we would expect that if you issued an order of conditions for this, that you would require in that we use these practices. Your question is a good question, because when we go about wanting to do this work, we haven't gotten to it yet in this presentation, but there is a process that we are recommending for how the DPW notify the commission about work that they need to do, etc. So when we get to that section, we should definitely talk a little bit more about what level of information you want the DPW to provide about what they're planning to do. There's a form that we included for them to fill out, but certainly if there's a more intensive piece of work that they are asking to do that falls into this category, then we would probably expect them to give you more detail about where they're going to put erosion controls related to.
Cool. So maybe I should have just held off until we got to that section, but thank you.
No, it's fine. It was an excellent point, an excellent question.
Thank you. I'll take that compliment. Are there other commission members who have any questions at this point, or should we just keep things moving forward? I see that Ed has joined us. Welcome, Ed.
I do have questions, and it's more from the standpoint.
Yeah, it is Walter.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, through the chair, Walter Garland. I'm looking at this, and I, being fairly new to the committee, am trying to grasp what this project is. And I'm looking at the back of this presentation. There's a site location and so forth. Is there a Cliff Notes, Melissa, of what this whole thing is about? Is the town trying to subcontract with this company or to do this project? I just need a little more background than 120 pages of presentation.
Through the chair.
Yes, please.
Hi, so this is Carrie Reed. I'm the Director of Public Works.
Okay.
Our main purpose, as Maria mentioned earlier, is that we had a successful notice. We're switching to an NOI because of updated kind of interpretations by the state. But this is our normal operations and maintenance work that the DPW does. It's not exempt under the regulations or the laws. So it changes based on need year to year. So this would be like our annual repaving program, which we evaluate every year, but we use the same processes. And this is focused on, as I said, replacing in kind and developing a notification procedure so that the commission is aware of when we're doing work within your jurisdiction, and you have an opportunity to say, we're good, we're bad, and have a chance to make comments. That's kind of why it's switching to this order of conditions. So it provides more opportunity if there are specific areas that you're really concerned about, that you can have more of a say, I suppose. But the general idea is that this is our normal operations and maintenance, just fixing the stuff that we already have, and to provide this communications so that you're notified, so that so nobody's surprised if you go out and you're driving, you're like, why are they working over there in our jurisdiction? And anything that's a big project, like a culvert replacement, would be its own separate NOI. So this is really designed for our day-to-day kind of activities.
Okay.
Did that help?
And it does help, but it looks like this is specifically referencing a stormwater restoration project on Longwood Drive. Am I looking at the right thing?
I think you might be looking at the wrong document. This project is specifically for DPW maintenance throughout the town. So it is not really what your standard NOI looks like because there isn't a specific site. Because as
I guess I'm confused. I'm trying to follow our agenda.
Right, Walter, we jumped from the work session items up to the first new hearing after the Lake Maspinock chat.
Oh, so we left the work session. Okay.
Yeah, we'll return to work session at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I missed that. So we're on number 1.
We are on number 1 of the new hearings.
New hearings. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any other commission questions?
Because it doesn't say anything there about Longwood Drive.
Right. This hearing isn't about the Longwood drainage stormwater discussion.
And where is this document that's referred to?
It is in the documents that Judy made available to us under Town of Hopkinton Department of Public Works. It's labeled pretty much the same way it is on the agenda. There it is right there.
Okay.
All
right,
right, Melissa.
I went to the work session items.
Okay. Understandable. I can see how you were flowing down the work session.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, Melissa. Maybe just by way of speeding us up a little bit, maybe some high-level items on Category 4, but then Category 5 might be the most interesting section where there would be more notice needed for us, I think is what you said.
So I think that Category 3 is actually the biggest category.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Category 4 is the same as Category 3. Category 4 is actually just asking the commission to allow the work that's in Category 3 to happen in your no disturb and no build zones.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's entirely what Category 4 is.
Okay.
And then Category 5 is actually just recognizing, as Carrie mentioned, that there are larger DPW projects that, occur in other resource areas or just larger in general, and those would be coming to you as separate NOIs. So Category 5 is really just acknowledging that there are plenty of other projects that the DPW would have to come to you individually about outside of this particular order of conditions.
Right. And I guess I thought why that might be interesting is that might alleviate some concern about what could be done without coming back and checking to us. That's what I meant by why that one might be interesting. If there was someone saying, wait a minute, are they going to put a brand new road right through a swamp? No, that's Category 5 type stuff.
Exactly. So the biggest thing in Category 5 is that in Category 3, we talked about work in the buffer zone and in riverfront area and in land subject to flooding. And those are areas where typically you have upland portions and paved areas and things just pretty commonly. Other resources that are not those 3 areas, work in those areas requires that we come to you with a notice of intent, regardless of what kind of work it is.
Yeah.
So even if it's the activities that we already talked about, if it's in those areas, we have to come to you. If it's not in those areas specifically, but it's not those activities that we talked about, then we still have to come to you. Is probably the broadest way to define that. But essentially, new infrastructure, expansion of infrastructure rather than just replacement in kind.
So, Maria, if you don't mind, through chair.
Like that. Go ahead, Carrie.
Go ahead, Carrie. Please help us out.
Yeah, so I'll give you some examples. What we just talked about, the weed treatment at Lake Maspinock, separate NOI. The Hayden Row improvement work that's part of the Charleswood School, where they're expanding the road, they're making it wider, they're adding impervious area, came in as a separate NOI. When we go to do the Granite Street culvert replacement, separate NOI, because those have much more impacts on the jurisdictional areas, and you guys are going to want to comment on them, and you're going to want to make sure that there's other things included in there. You're going to want to look in a lot more detail if we have to like divert a stream as we're doing construction, if there's going to be direct impacts to wetlands, with some of the bigger roadway work, I know there's a big concern about invasive species in the right of way, maybe not in the road. So those things would be separate projects that would have separate NOIs. But the work that we normally do, like under this, would be we have a broken drain pipe and we need to do a trench in the road and replace that drain pipe in kind. That would be covered underneath this. Our normal repaving work, our catch base, like if a catch basin fails and we have to rebuild it, that would be covered underneath this. So any kind of work like that, because drainage is not covered. Yeah, I think that's kind of the crux of it. And then we would notify the ones where I think we're going to kind of run in between. And that's where we'll have the real thing is like if a head wall is failing, because those are usually like very close to the wetlands themselves, sometimes in the wetlands themselves. That might be a point where it's like, if we're just resetting it and repointing it, we can probably do it underneath this. But if we're going to pull it out and then put a new one in, you guys might say, you know what, we want that as a separate NOI.
Great.
So I think it actually might be really helpful to go down to section 3 where we talk about the procedures for work. Because I think we've covered some good examples, but essentially the procedures for this are, the DPW will identify that it needs to do work and tell you what it needs to do and where. If you feel like it's too close to some resource areas, then you can come back to them and say, you need to delineate this so that we can make sure it's being protected adequately. And this procedure that we have in here allows for the commissioners or their agent to go on site and look at things with the DPW before work happens so that, you can make sure that things are being adequately protected. Judy, if you don't mind scrolling down just a little bit more, I want to show the table there. So we talked about the 5 categories, and essentially categories 1 and 2 are the things that are just generally exempt. So we provide notification to the Conservation Commission about those. We would probably expect that the Conservation Commission would say, okay, go ahead, do what you need to do. Category 3 and Category 4 is really where we might expect the commission to say, hey, we would like a little more information. And particularly Category 4, we expect is when the commission would be most interested in going out and looking at the site potentially. And then Category 5 is you can't do it under this. You just have to come to the commission with a different application.
Wonderful.
And then down in the appendices, Judy, it's PDF page 44. There's actually a sheet that we had drafted with essentially the information that would be provided to the commission for those notifications. So just like kind of the starting level of what the commission would receive. So tell you where the work's taking place, why the work needs to happen, a description of the work, and the schedule for the work are the basic pieces of information that you'd be provided with to start.
Great. Melissa, is there anything else that you think you should touch on before we go forward with chatting more? Or do you think you covered the
Maria?
It is.
Oh, Maria,
yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
keep saying Melissa because I keep thinking you're talking like the chair, Melissa.
No.
I thought so,
You know
maybe
what's
too,
funny
so I
is
wasn't paying
when Walter asked a question, he said Melissa. So when I saw Maria, I actually wrote down, it's Melissa. The M is Melissa. Maria or Carrie, is there anything else we should hit on in our overview of this? Or should we hear if other commission members have questions at this point?
Unless you think there's anything particular that we haven't covered, Carrie, I think that we've covered the highlights. So I'm certainly ready for more questions.
Yeah, I think we've highlighted. The one example that came up that we're excited to be able to use this on is Sandy Beach parking lot. We're working with Parks and Rec on redoing the parking lot. And we're like, okay, well, we need to do test pits ahead of design. Test pits can probably be done with this, under this. But then when we redo the design, because it's so close to the lake, that will come back as an NOI. So that's one of the ones where we're like, oh, this would be the perfect tool to use that to be able to kind of move along with some projects, but also give the commission plenty of opportunity and oversight to make comments and add to the conditions as we go along.
Great, thanks. Carrie, can I ask you before I even go to the rest of the commission or back to Judy, is this something you're hoping to get a vote on tonight, or is this something we could put a continuation till the next meeting? And the reason I ask is because this is not, to me, an alarming proposal, but it's different from what we've done before. And I would really like to be sure that we can have as many commission members in on the vote as possible, so that if Melissa was able to get approval to vote, so that if Peggy could join us, so people could give all of this a good look. Would you be open to continuing till later as well?
Yeah, continuing is fine. We expected to continue anyway because we don't have a DP number.
Right. We actually can't close without a DP.
Yeah.
And that was part of the prep meeting that I completely forgot. So
no worries.
We have to continue because we don't have that number yet.
All right. So then I'm going to turn to the commission, but I just wanted to ask really quickly, Judy, this is a different type of NOI, and usually we have Lucas look at NOIs, but because there's so little specific, I know there's nothing in the folder from Joe. Is this the kind of thing that we would ask Lucas to look at normally? Is this so different that we don't know?
Yeah, through the chair, Joe did look at it. I received comments after my regular office hours today, so I'll send them over to Carrie and Maria tomorrow. But yes, we did have Lucas review it. I have some comments as well that I'll summarize and send over in the morning.
Okay, great. Yet one more reason to continue. All right, then let me just look to the commission to see if anyone else. I know, Ed, I could see you studying everything very carefully as it went by your screen. But I don't want to put you on the spot, Ed. Does anybody in the commission have further questions right now for Barry or Maria? Was that a yes, Ed, or no?
Through the chair, Ted, this is Ed. I was faking it.
You did a good job. I was faked. Jim or Matt, do you have any questions? Walter, do you have any new questions?
I'm set for now, thanks.
Okay.
Not on my end, Ted.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all set for now, Ted.
All right. Then I think that we're at a place where we're ready for a vote to continue the hearing. I think our next meeting is April 28th. Does that feel good to you, Carrie? Carrie Reed?
I think so. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. I wonder if I could get a motion to continue this hearing and a second to April 28th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Let's get a roll call vote. Here's my roster of players. Ed.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
And Ted Barker Hook is an aye. We will see you in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And Melissa, please take over from me.
Ted, you did great. I was just thinking I could retire.
No.
Yeah, no, council said I needed to make myself invisible, not present, regardless of how many times you try and say my name and call me back.
I didn't mean to blame Walter for that, but when Walter said Melissa and I saw the M on the screen, I was like, oh, her name's Melissa. Let me write that down.
Yeah, good guy.
Is Melissa no longer the chair?
I'm the chair. I had to recuse myself from that hearing because I work for Time Bond, so
I understand now.
I had to step away. So now I am the chair again, Walter.
Okay. Gotta get all these parliamentary procedures. I gotta make sure I understand them all. Okay.
I'm keeping you on your toes. All right, next up we have another new hearing, which is 75 South Street. Ted? Can you read
I
that?
gotcha.
All right.
The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. virtually online to hear all persons interested in an amended notice of intent filed by Magnuco Realty LLC for parking lot modifications with associated site work. Location, 75 South Street, Assessor's Map R29, Block 7, Lot 0.
Thanks, Ted.
You're welcome.
Let's see. We have Joe Marquidon. You're on for this one, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and present?
Sure. Evening all. Joe Marquidon here. I'm here on behalf of Lance Lefebvre at Magunko Realty LLC, the owner of 75 South, that 4-acre parcel at the corner of Haywood and South Street. As Judy has displayed the plan, South Street's to the left, Haywood is up top, and that's 495 to the right. The commission may remember that we were here back in November. You issued an order under file number 188-1856 for soil borings and injections to mitigate hazardous materials left behind by the previous owner, Valpy Fisher. Valpy Fisher occupied the building from 73 to something like 2012, and they were sold to a multinational CTS, and now Magunko Realty has taken it over. As part of this whole process, we were going to start in November with what I've been calling phase 1, the hazardous waste mitigation. That early onset of cold weather and the long stretch of cold weather did not allow us to start those borings in November, but they're on tap to start shortly. Lance has been in contact with Judy and Anna about preparing to begin that phase. You may recall back in March, came in and see if the commission would be willing to allow us to combine phase 1 and this future phase 2 so that we could get a timely review, because we're in the planning board at the same time. The commission seemed willing, so we filed for what I've been calling phase 2, and it's generally on the southerly side of the building against number 77. The existing building that you see here was light manufacturing and industrial. We're going to transition to office space and warehouse. And because we have frontage on both South and Hayward, we have the main driveway down to the southwest into a large 60-yard space parking lot. You head up and take the right onto Haywood Street. Halfway down, there is a driveway that accesses a loading dock. You head all the way down towards 495, there's access to the smaller 20-space parking lot. The issue we have as a warehouse is that center area has that center driveway, has a loading dock that creates issues both inside and outside the building. Inside, there's a slab, 16 by 12 by 4 foot tall. So anything that gets offloaded needs to get offloaded from the truck, and then a separate apparatus has to take it, drop it that 4 feet, and move it around inside the building. Outside the building, there are issues. 71 South, on the opposite side of Haywood, had a less intensive use. You may remember there was a granite place, Galaxy Granite. There was Aerial Lifts of New England. They rented scissor lifts and construction equipment on a very informal basis. That has since changed. Over there now is Riverside Properties. They're a landscape construction outfit that is using every inch. They're very intensive use of their property. Several employees during this current season, the landscape season, park along Haywood Street. The driveway that semis used to use to back into the loading dock is now not available all the time because of the constant use of Riverside in that location. So trucks don't have the ability like they used to queue up, use the neighbor's driveway to back down to the loading dock. So Magunko Realty asked us to review the potential for a relocation of the loading dock. We looked on the easterly side against 495, but that BVW on site does not allow us, and the narrow width of that pavement doesn't allow us to do truck maneuvers with any large vehicles. And the fact that employees park along Haywood Street now makes it extremely difficult to do anything but accessing that side of the building. So we focused on the southerly side. On that side, there are, if you've been by the site, there is some air handling equipment that is a perfect spot to carve in 2 new overhead doors and relocate the loading dock. That location is about a third of the way back from the front of the building. We want to take that area, which is now a walk and grass, and remove that and construct a new parking area so that folks, the trucks will go back to using the South Street driveway as the main access, and then back into those 2 docks. And then when the deliveries or the shipping is done, the trucks will pull out, make a loop down easterly towards 495, and then head back out the South Street driveway. To do that, we need to lower that loading dock area, the future loading dock area, a couple of feet, and then carry that down to the southeast towards 495. So what we intend to do is to excavate that area across that parking lot and lower that by a maximum 2 feet at the dock to 0 when we reach the end of the asphalt. Now, currently, sheet flow is northwest to southeast along that side. So we intend to replicate that with the future grading and paving of that parking area. So we will take that area, lower it, shape it, and then repave it. But then we'll continue on up the driveway to South Street so that area of crumbling pavement will be upgraded as well. And then down the final set of activities on that side is at the southeast corner, we're going to remove some asphalt paving that is crumbling, is in poor condition. It's a mix of asphalt and gravel. We'll excavate that area and we'll replace it with loam and seed so that when we're done, there is no net increase in impervious area. Those are the most intensive uses that we have on the site. Because we have buffer zones that were reviewed by the commission and the staff for phase 1, we realize that we have buffer zones across the easterly side and across the southerly side, some from wetlands on site, some from wetlands at number 77. So we have buffer zone issues for variety of these activities. Those are the most intensive, but we have other things that we'd like the commission to consider, which are amenities to the site, but less damaging to the buffer zones, if you will. For instance, there's a concrete walkway that leads to the smaller 22-space parking lot. We want to add some low-voltage bollard lighting, 36-inch tall, to make that a safer walk for the employees to the smaller parking lot. That is intended to be the main parking lot for the Magunko Realty people. We're going to, in order to satisfy the planning board, we have to add some EV, electric vehicle station heads along the building, both on the southerly side and the easterly side at all the parking lots. So we've got some trenching to do, some heads to install, and then we've got a small driveway through an area of mulch and crushed stone on that same east side that is right at the edge of the 100-foot buffer. So we've got some more intensive work and some less intensive work within the different buffer zones. We have just started down the road for permitting. We were at the planning board last night to talk about a minor site plan application. We have a couple of applications pending with the DPW to talk about a connection from the failed septic system to the municipal sewer in Haywood Street. And then we've got to file for a couple of permits with them. We're waiting to file those until we get some more feedback from this board and the planning board. But we're aware of a couple of applications that are pending with those folks. And eventually we'll have to abandon our failed septic system and involve the Board of Health. So this phase 2 is a bit more intensive than that phase 1. But it seems like since it's the one site, it makes a lot of sense to combine it all and review it all now, and would certainly make life easier as we bounce back and forth between the different boards.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this site, more than I envisioned. But I know we got a letter of comments from Joe yesterday, Joe Orzel. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them, but those will need to be addressed. Joe Orzel, do you want to hit any high points on those comments or anything that we should discuss at this meeting?
I think, as you had mentioned, it seems like there's a little more work involved in this application than maybe was anticipated after the initial discussion. I think the commission needs to consider whether at this point the amended order is the correct way to go. I did include a quote from DEP program policy regarding amended orders. And if there is a substantial change, generally they recommend a new notice of intent filing. However, it is the determination of the issuing authority to decide whether or not that change in scope is sufficient enough. I just went to a couple of items recommended that the applicant confirm that all the work is within proposed or existing paved areas. Also was looking for a little more description of all the work that's proposed, maybe a narrative. I know Joe went over some of that in his discussion, but I think there's, EV stations, utilities and other things proposed. The information that was submitted describes an existing stormwater system as an enclosed stormwater system in the parking lot. That's not shown on the plans. I don't know if that's an error or needs further discussion. Recommend snow storage areas be identified on the plan. Also recommend that the applicant demonstrate that stormwater is being managed to the maximum extent practicable for the redevelopment. It looks like they're just maintaining existing drainage. I don't know that there's any proposed stormwater treatment other than possibly flowing over vegetation before it gets to the wetland. Also, looking for clarification on whether any work is proposed on the portion of the existing parking lot that is off-site to the south. If that is the case, also whether the abutters to that property were appropriately notified. And I think finally, just recommending a specification for a seed mix for the area that's proposed for reestablishing vegetation. I think that covers it.
Oh, Joe Marquardt, I see there's one catch basin and a drainage pipe. I actually took a swing by the site yesterday and didn't see any drainage system in the actual parking lot. Is the drainage system referenced in the operation and maintenance plan referring to that one catch basin in the grass?
One existing catch basin in the grass, correct. Everything else is sheet flow across the parking lot as you find it now.
Okay. And with the proposed grading, which I don't know if you can go to the next sheet, Judy, maybe that shows the grading lines on it. It was a little more extensive than I had originally thought. Looks like the majority of the parking lot is being regraded, including the driveway. And then are you gonna have a low point at that overhead door area where you need like a trench drain or anything like that you're gonna have to deal with?
We reviewed, once we chose that location and we're cutting down the 2 feet in order to create that 4-foot lip that the delivery truck needs. We examined a closed drainage system, some kind of catch basin piping, but when we got to the edge of the parking lot, the limit of the buffer zone, we would have to excavate and create a trench down to the wetlands edge. That's when we chose to eliminate a pipe system and go to the regrading of the parking lot and the sheet flow. We weren't sure how we were going to get rid of that water once we put it in a pipe.
So it's not, so the 2 feet down is not going to create a ponding area.
No, it pitches away
Okay.
from the doors and then down through that area down to the southeast.
All right, so you're cutting down 2 feet, kind of across that whole swath of the driveway and parking lot, not just at the overhead doors.
Yeah, 2 feet at the doors, 18
And it
inches
goes all
out
the
the
way.
middle, and 0 at the southeast corner.
Okay.
And that, as you can see, that parking lot, that last row of spaces hangs over the boundary line. Magunka Realty has rights to use that area. I'm not sure, I have not explored rights to reconstruct in that area. He does have Lance does have a good relationship with Paul Mastriani at Bevleo, but we're proposing to leave that alone and do all of our work on 75 to keep all the work inside the bounds of number 75.
Okay. I think it would be helpful to maybe shade the work area in some way rather than just the proposed topography lines.
Sure.
While I'm thinking about that, does anyone else on the commission have any questions or comments right now on this?
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I'm assuming that people have talked to Riverside and they haven't been able to work out an agreement. I mean, if some of the Riverside people parked in this guy's lot, maybe that would clear the room for the truck and it would be a whole lot cheaper. But anyway, just a thought.
But that does not address the issue inside the building, Ed, with that concrete slab.
Gotcha. Okay.
In regards to the process, has this been sent to DEP for a comment?
Yes,
Joe?
both electronically and due to some issues with file size, hard copies as well.
Okay. All right, so we should be expecting comments from DEP. I imagine that they would weigh in on their thoughts, hopefully, whether this is okay as an amended or not. But regardless of that, I think between now and the next meeting, working through Joe's comments, I think that operation and maintenance plan could be more clear as to, because I had the same confusion that Joe did in reading it. It makes it sound like there's a whole stormwater system. So identifying exactly what that is covering. And I think that if we're regrading and sending water, and now we're factoring in trucks making deliveries over here, maybe a little more pollutants, I think there should probably be some thought given to implementing some BMPs for the drainage system, to treat drainage runoff from the parking lot. Not saying it has to be a closed drainage system, but potentially there's some improvements that can be made when, we're grading this much of a site and introducing some new impervious area.
Well, there's no new net impervious.
Right.
So you pick up 400 square feet by the building, but that crosshatched area down the southeast corner gets returned to pervious.
Okay. Is that quantified in a table?
Yes.
Okay, I missed that.
We'll highlight it.
Melissa,
Yes, Matt.
I understand there's no net new impervious, but this is a redevelopment activity and they should be looking at improving stormwater to the maximum extent practicable. So if there are no improvements proposed, I think we would want a justification as why none are possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I'll just say really quickly, Melissa, you and Matt are the stormwater experts here, but I was thinking something similar because it looks like a whole lot of water can be sheeting towards our 50-foot buffer line to that BVW there in the southeast corner. Joe, I think normally I'm pretty good at reading contour lines, but I'm a little confused on this plan, and I wonder, I can't remember if there's a cross section of the paving. What confuses me is we're creating a depressed lane, kind of. So at the garage doors, it's 427.9 feet in elevation. Then it drops a little bit to 425, then 426. So all of that is downhill, right? But I also see the 428s, which are kind of the edge of the depressed lane. Is that true? That's what creates kind of a path for the water to run off to the southeast. Am I understanding those lines correctly?
Correct.
Okay. So then my big confusion is, how does the 428 line, I'm going to try this new thing we discovered last week. Right here, the 428 line just kind of stops. Where does it go from there? Similar to here. Does it just... This part, I'm having trouble understanding what a cross section would look like.
Sure. That's where the 428 meets the existing 428. So that line near the pink, the dashed line, is the 428.
Except this is 426.5 going right through the 428. So the 428 would go off this way?
So that tries to convey the idea that we're dropping it from 428 down to 426 and a half. We try to drop 1.5 feet there.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
Ted, this may be helpful for you.
Go ahead.
So the 427.9 up by the overhead doors, that's bookended by the 428.
Yeah.
All of the stormwater from the loading dock area is going to travel down towards the wetland in between the two 428 contours.
That I think I understood. I just don't understand when the 428 contour ends. And yet there's an old 428 contour that goes right through the 426.
Yeah, the 428 contour that's between the two proposed 428s, that is being removed as part of this project.
So that part drifts down to 426.5 at the center of that little lane.
Correct.
Okay.
It's like a big wide channel.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's what I envisioned. I was having trouble where Walter circled how those contours fit together. But I guess I get the idea now. Thanks, everybody. And that was a nice little tool we used. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's some decent feedback.
Oh, there's some green lines. Well done by whoever did that.
You're welcome.
That's the new 428 line.
That's the new 428.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Then our next meeting is the 28th of April. Would you like to continue out to that meeting, Joe?
Please.
Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this out to the 28th with signatures by Judy or Anna?
I'll make that motion.
This is Ed, I'll second.
All right. All in favor, Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right. Thanks, Joe.
Great, thank you. Good night.
Okay, next up, we are now moving to continued hearings. We're on number 3, just 28 Lakeshore Drive. This is a notice of intent continuation. Great. So I saw in the file that we got a planting plan, which was something that we talked about quite a bit at the last hearing. And Joe, did you have a chance to look at this one? I can't remember off the top of my head. Joe or Zal?
I sent in a review previously, but I have not looked at the planting plan.
At the new one. Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any new comments. Okay, and your comments have not been addressed since they were provided at the last time around yet. All right, so we're looking at the planting plan here. Judy, do you want to give us some highlights?
Sure. I think we have the applicant on the call as well, but this is a separate plan just showing the plantings. So they're represented by symbols on the plan and then referenced in a table with the species here.
Okay.
We also have a revised civil plan as well that may have addressed some of Joe's comments, but I would leave that to the applicant to confirm what's been changed.
Sure. The applicant's representative would like to speak.
Yes. So Stephen Bosvich here on behalf of Land Planning, Inc., representing the applicant and property owner, Alan and Chris Ann Connell. So we haven't formally supplied a response letter because they were addressed on the plan. So we didn't feel that it was, necessary to create another document. Just to walk through the remaining items since the last meeting that have been addressed. The first was stormwater management system infiltration system soil test. So shortly after the last public hearing, we were able to go out in the field and kind of stake the locations and dig soil tests to determine the textural classification and the depth to seasonal high groundwater if groundwater was not observed. So we have, as indicated on the sheet, kind of adjacent to those basins, we have test pit 1 and test pit 2. There's an icon. If it would be all right, would the chair be okay if I shared my screen just so I can point this stuff out?
Yes, that's fine.
Be good to go.
Okay. Everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
So we have up in the top corner of sheet 1 is the actual soil data itself. As I mentioned, test pit 1, test pit 2. We were able to catch the corner of the infiltration system, test pit 1 right here. Test pit 2, unfortunately, was going to be kind of within like that existing patio area. So we went adjacent to it. However, we're close and we did determine that there were consistent soils on site. The second comment was in regards to the resource area delineation. So prior to this revision, there was wetland flag 1, wetland flag 2. The commission's representative peer reviewer recommended that the line be reviewed and possibly hung 4 to 5 feet towards the existing driveway and dwelling. So we hung wetland flag 1.1 and 1.2 in agreement with that comment. And we've also updated on sheet 2 the necessary buffer zone areas. So we had a table on sheet 2, and I'll show that when I get to that sheet, of the various 0 to 25 foot buffer, 25 to 50, and the breakdown of impervious pre and post for those areas. The other outstanding comment was regarding the planting. As we kind of discussed, we put the plantings on the site plan, and we noted that we will surround it, as discussed with the commission, with a mulch sock through construction. So when they're planting this, there'll be a separate barrier independent of the primary barrier here. Another comment that was needed was the tree line was not plotted properly, so I made sure that was accurately depicted on the plan. Going to sheet 2, we had discussions regarding these 3 trees in the back, and after kind of coordinating with the proposed plantings and the removal of the trees, we were going to retain the 2 oak trees. However, because of the proximity of the house, I believe the commission was okay with us continuing to remove this pine tree located here. So at this point, we've proposed to leave these trees, and this table here was updated to reflect that amendment. The tables, as previously discussed, for the buffer zone areas pre and post impacts were updated. Those tables are shown here. Another comment made by the peer review in the last letter was regarding the infiltration system. So we were able to add the calculations on the sizing of the overall system. There's 2 fields of 6 chambers each, so 12 total chambers with the surrounding stone. And we demonstrate that we're providing 1 inch of infiltration from the proposed impervious surface. So the entire driveway and the roof area. If the commission has any additional questions, this again is the tree planting plan with the species as indicated. I'd be happy to address any additional comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you for the overview. I appreciate the soil test work and the accommodation of that oak tree remaining on site. That's great to see. The breakdown of the tree planting schedule, grasses, shrubs, and perennials. I think it would be helpful to have shrubs broken out from grasses and perennials. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the plant species as maybe others are on the board to identify which ones are shrubs based on the name. Some guess, I see blueberry, which would be one of my guesses, but the rest of them look very much like grasses and perennials. So I think it would be helpful to break that out. And I do want to revisit, we had talked about the significant trees on the site, the large size of the ones that are coming down, and the count being provided. Within the 50-foot buffer, I think we have a 26-inch pine and a 26-inch oak and a 14-inch oak that are all coming down within 50-foot buffer zone. In my mind, although we don't have it in our regulations yet, but some of the conversations I think we've been having about incorporating them into planting guidelines for the board were identifying a significant tree size, maybe of 20 inches and larger, which would be the pine and the oak, and having an increased ratio for replacement based on diameter. So that's one comment I have. I mean, the guidance there would be looking for, I think, more tree coverage and specifically mitigation. A lot of times the commission will take shrubs in place of trees. Maybe 3 or 4 shrubs might equal a tree. And looking at the planting plan, back at the planting plan and the filter strip that we talk about in the guidance documents that were provided, it looks like it's grasses all along the shoreline there. So in my mind, I think we'd like to see that beefed up a bit, for lack of a better term, or I would, to really provide mitigation for all the trees that are coming down on this site. But I'll open up to others for thoughts and comments as well.
Through the chair,
Through the chair. Oh, go ahead, Ted.
I want to mostly echo Melissa's last thought. I asked, and I remember last meeting that Judy showed us the sample, and she assured us she sent to the applicant the sample drawing of what a filter strip, an ideal filter strip, would look like. And I don't think this plan reflects what that drawing was, the ideal situation that Judy offers to us. So I very much would like to see a more robust filter strip. As for tree replacement, I know we have a line of arborvitae, and I understand that not all arborvitae are the same, but arborvitae as a replacement for oaks doesn't quite seem to me to be a fair trade, unless I need to be taught, Ed, about arborvitae more. But for myself only, I could see myself not insisting on more robust tree plantings if we could get the model filter strip that we could hold up to all other lakefront residents that I am sure the LMPA would love us to see. One that protects the entire shoreline, one that does not allow straight line access of water runoff and potentially fertilizer runoff, be it phosphate fertilizer or not, directly into the lake. This project gives us a chance to really show what lakefront protection ought to be. And I would love to see that in the filter plantings along the lakefront.
So if I may, could I just make a point regarding the trees? So we're also not subject to...
Who is that speaking? Sorry, is that?
Stephen
Okay.
Bosvich, the representative.
All right.
So we're not subject to any stormwater management requirements. So subsequent to removing the trees, we're also providing increased recharge for the impervious surface. So we're not increasing impervious. In addition to that, we're also infiltrating the impervious surface that basically exists now, because we're not increasing it and there is no means of recharge. So in addition to the plantings, we are also providing recharge and a reduction in impervious surface for the site, which is entirely within the buffer zone as well.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate the point with the recharge systems that are being in place. That certainly does help reduce some of the runoff coming off the dwelling. Does it capture the driveway as well? To the recharge? Yes. Okay.
So there's a trench drain across the front of the garage doors, and that's going to be tied into infiltration system 1. So we are collecting the driveway runoff. We did not want to create additional runoff to the municipal drainage system here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually pitching the driveway towards the center of the property and collecting it with a 4-inch trench drain and directing it to the infiltration system.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Walter.
Yes, I have a few questions. Talked a little bit about it last time, but the solid line and the 2 dotted line that goes around like 3/4 of the property up to the street, is that the current limit of work? What is that address?
So that dark line is the perimeter erosion and sediment control. We have the initial.
So the dark, when you say the dark line, you mean the dark line with the 2 dots?
Yes.
All the way around.
Yes.
Okay, that's
right
the erosion.
Yeah.
The erosion barriers. Okay. All right. Well,
compost sock.
That answers that question. It's, to me, it also seems like I'd call it the limit of work based on other projects I've seen on the lake. And I'm wondering why, Melissa, that we're trying to enforce a order of conditions on a part of the project that really isn't, in my view, in this phase. It seems like we're imposing a lot of additional cost on the homeowners, and if they just left that area as it is, they're not making any modifications to it. Really, they're just trying to build their home. So if they want to come back as a phase 2, before the board for this area close to the lake where all the plantings are and so forth, it just seems like we're putting a lot on the homeowner who's going to be stretched, I'm sure, enough to try to build this home to address something they really don't plan to touch. Is there? How did that happen? How are we able to do that if they're saying they don't want to change that, they just want to leave it as it is and maybe have that as a phase 2 of their project? What right do we have, I guess, as a commission to say, nope, you got to do this if you want to build your house?
So as a commission, we are we're charged with protecting the resource areas, which would be the lake and the wetlands. And any work that's within the buffer of those resource areas is within our jurisdiction. So the entire site, because that 100-foot buffer, expands over the entire site. And part of our regulations say that, we anticipate or we expect that buffer is there, and maintaining that protects the resource area. And if someone starts to encroach in that buffer zone, then we're just responsible for making sure that encroachment is either mitigated or isn't going to cause inverse impacts to the resource area. So understanding that there's a house there today and, weighing when you redevelop something, you need to make it better. It's the opportunity to improve the site and improve the protection to our resource areas. So we look at that buffer zone, and the closer you are to the resource area is really our only tool, or the most important tool for protecting. So yeah, it's a balancing act, and that's where the commission has
because it's within
jurisdiction it's all within our jurisdiction within the buffer zone.
If I could also add to that, Walter, because I appreciate the comment, because in the beginning stages of this, we tried to propose like a phase 2 type thing for the planting, because we still had to go for a demolition permit for the existing structure, and we still have to go to the ZBA for a special permit. So I think we've demonstrated our willingness to improve that buffer at this point, and we would very much so like to kind of continue this discussion as we go through the next phases of the project and continue to work with the commission regarding the buffer strip and planting and species, because we still have a significant amount of work permitting wise with other boards at this point. So
and I guess that's also what I'm saying is that we're delaying this project for, I don't want to call it window dressing. It's not window dressing, but this is not the main gist of the project. The main gist of the project is kind of everything to the right of the dotted red line. Not sure what that is, but Stephen, I understand what you're saying, and I would agree. Is do we need to hammer this out, before you get the homeowners get approval for everything that's really the purpose of what they're doing is to build a new home here. We can certainly get to the left side of the red line, the red dotted line, but
once we issue our decision, we don't have an opportunity to come back and work on that phase 2. So if we're providing, if we would like mitigation, for the building of the home, we need to do that now as part of this application. Otherwise, we don't see it again, and there may never be a phase 2. I'm going to move on to Jim.
Could we condition that there is a phase 2? That we need to have an approved planting and buffer zone strip prior to the construction. So basically, after we get possibly the special permit and the demo permit, before we get construction, we need to at that point come back to the commission and work through this planting stage. So could we not condition, that there is another step following this, because we also mentioned that this is not the final floor plan. So we are coming back for that as well when that gets worked through with the architect. So we will be coming back for the floor plan. I think along the lines of that, planting also kind of falls in line with that.
Yeah,
it's kind of what I'm speaking to as well. Is it possible, Melissa, for us to say, okay, we're comfortable with this building envelope that you're looking at. You do need to go before the board for setback. The planning, the ZBA for the special permits and so forth. That is it required to issue the order of conditions before the ZBA weighs in, or can we?
Well, I don't know why I don't know that it's necessarily, and I don't know, but my question would be, why can't you get the ZBA permit? Why is this holding up the ZBA permit?
So
we've had applicants.
The applicant wanted to work through the conservation, or at least get through the conservation portion of it before they started designing with an architect. It's currently underway and being designed. I just sent the updated site plans over to their architect, so they are working on that. And we will be going to the ZBA, I believe, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, getting that application in. I need to verify, submission package deadlines and stuff like that. But as far as our submission to them, it will be soon.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
In my experience on the ZBA, Melissa, we would ask, has the Conservation Commission approved where you intend to put the house before you go to the ZBA? And it doesn't seem like we're talking about any of that. We're addressing, seems to me, everything that doesn't have to do with the construction of the residence.
Yeah, maybe it's a chicken or an egg, because we've definitely had applicants. We've asked them to go to the ZBA and get permission to move the house closer to the street, to be away from the resource area. So I don't see. Yeah.
Far along, it seems in our discussion, maybe let them proceed. I don't see anything that would prevent them from going to the ZBA, getting all their special permits, everything approved. It seems like we're comfortable with everything to the right side of the red line.
Yeah, I don't think we need to close it for them to go to ZBA.
Right.
But go ahead, Jim. I want to take Jim's comment.
Thanks. A lot of variety. First, I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of bifurcating the landscaping and the buffer plantings and so forth. So I would not be, I wouldn't approve that. If there's any changes, as have been discussed by Stephen, that may be coming up, we're going to be looking at the whole thing again anyway. We're going to be looking at the plan, see what those changes do, impervious, pervious, so forth. Now, as for the trees, I hope I didn't hear Stephen say, this is going back a bit. You didn't say that removing a tree is beneficial for infiltration? You weren't saying
No.
that, were you?
No.
Oh, okay. That's good. Then I don't have to go any further on that one. As far as the trees and the plantings go, Melissa, I recall looking at the plant list. The only three things that are shrubs are the berries, the chokeberry, the blueberry, and I think it's service berry. Everything else are perennials, including the grasses, which, depending on when you cut them, are there. But I would definitely like to see more shrubs and the tree replacement, as we've discussed. And I think that's it on my list.
Okay.
No reply needed.
Thanks, Jim.
Melissa.
Yes, Ted.
Very quickly, I would just point out, while it may be that we're not really focusing on the house structure because maybe we are okay, maybe. I don't think that means we're okay with the right side of the plan, because the right side of the plan has a lot of tree removal, and that's part of the mitigation plantings, and that's why it's all one big project.
Right.
Yeah, what's that?
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Just as an FYI, in general, the commission can't really review new material after issuing an order of conditions. And plantings and restoration are a major tool for protecting resource area, which is really the focus of the Conservation Commission. Not necessarily the home construction or home placement, or really matters that might be better handled by ZBA. So I would really encourage having a robust planting plan in place prior to considering issuing an order of conditions, as that's really been the expectation for similar projects in the past. So just putting that out there.
Well, we've demonstrated we are going to plant down there, and we can amend a notice of intent order of conditions. So would that, and not necessarily new material, it's amended material. We're substituting, 3 of the shrubs down by the water with 2 smaller trees and 3 shrubs. It's not necessarily new. I would agree new would be we're not putting anything down there like earlier, prior plans, and then we come back with all this new planting. But at this point, we're showing vegetation down there.
Mm-hmm. We've definitely had situations where we've had plants swapped out, and had the applicant work with our commission staff just to make sure that, the plants that were being swapped out were native and comparable plantings and things like that. But I think what we want to hash out here is just to make sure we have a plan that shows, the number and the type of plantings, and captures that in a way that the commission is comfortable with the variety and the number that are being planted. And I think, as Ted was alluding to in his comment, just a row of plantings along the edge is not what we typically look for. In a filter strip, we're looking for a little more density, a little more variation, and that's what we're getting at. I don't know if you want to add anything, Judy, or anyone else, but yeah. I don't think we're trying to hold your feet to the fire for, every little type of planting, but we just want to have a really solid understanding of how many density, and where they're going to go. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions and then a thought, I suppose. Um, is it a fair understanding that the impervious cover in the 0 to 25 and 0 to 50-foot buffers is decreasing as part of this project? It appears that's the case looking at the overlay plan, but I didn't see the specific numbers.
Within the 0 to 25. So the dwelling, I'm just gonna pull a calculator.
It just it looked that way on the overlay, but the
Yeah.
numbers are always most helpful.
So in the 0 to 25 existing impervious surface is, I'm calculating 669. The proposed project is providing 562.
Okay, and how about the 25 to 50?
So existing 1,553, proposed 1,592. So we have a net increase of just under 40 square feet.
Okay, and the two infiltration chambers that are proposed are capturing the entire roof and the entire parking or the entire driveway?
Yes, trench drain for the driveway and then pipe system for the roof gutters. That is correct.
And then on the tree front, the proposed replacement ratio, it's 2 to 1 on the trees plus the additional shrubs and perennials down by the water. Is that a correct understanding?
Yes. So we're kind of substituting several shrubs and grasses for trees as well. So
so we have 9 trees coming out. Is that the
yes,
the current removal, and then
9 trees.
9 trees plus.
Well, is 9 and 2 additional, so that's 11 trees, and then the remaining shrubs to offset the additional trees we're not placing in there.
And that's 4 shrubs to 1 tree.
I don't know the ratio. I, like one of the other commissioner members, I don't know necessarily what is perennial and what is shrub. That's why I kind of grouped them all together.
Okay. So,
through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
But it also looks like 2 of those arborvitaes are outside jurisdiction.
Right, top right corner. Okay.
yeah. So, I mean, my sense of the situation here personally is we've got a reduction in the 0 to 50-foot buffer of impervious cover, which is an improvement over existing conditions. We have 2 subsurface infiltration systems that are taking all of the roof and all of the driveway and providing an opportunity for recharge, which is an improvement over the existing condition. And we have tree plantings and shrub plantings that seem to be close or meeting the ratios we've been requesting from other properties around town, not necessarily lakefront, which is, I'm not going to say an improvement, but what we've been looking for generally. So as a whole, this seems to me like an improvement at the property, and I understand we want to see more plantings along the lakefront to provide some additional treatment of runoff, particularly from lawns that are fertilized. There's a lot of benefit to that. I 100% agree with everyone's sentiment there. However, the net benefit here, to me, carries some weight, particularly given this is an applicant that's come in with a notice of intent prior to conducting any work. And it feels like, at least in the short time I've been part of the commission, where we've really forced the hand of an applicant to plant a substantial amount of vegetation directly along the lakefront in an area that either had been previously disturbed or wasn't planned to be disturbed, is when they've gone and done unauthorized work within our jurisdiction. So while I could see the value of some additional plantings along the lakefront, where do we draw that line given the other improvements that are being proposed to benefit or to improve the property? That's just where I'm at.
Thank you for saying that better than I could.
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good points, Matt. We don't often see the infiltration systems either.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's just as important as the plantings along the lakefront, because it eliminates that runoff that's going over the lawn and picking up those nitrogens and phosphoruses and pulling them into the lake. If we're taking that, in this case, almost probably 40% of the lot, if we're taking that water and not giving it an opportunity to run over the lawn, that in itself is a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's to me, it's like, it's great to have both, and we've made applicants that have done work without our authorization give us both, right? Give us a recharge and give us a substantial planting along the lakefront, almost to pay their penance for doing something that was illegal. In this case, we've got an applicant that's coming to us the right way, and it's, to me, it's like we're getting a lot of benefit here. That's just kind of my sense on it.
Mm-hmm.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Go ahead, Ed.
I sympathize with much of what Matt has said. I guess my concern is, if we accept this as it is, then it becomes something that someone else will point to perhaps and say, well, you didn't make them plant the filter strip. Why are you making us plant the filter strip? And I just want to be sure that we don't box ourselves into a corner.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ed. And my take on that is, if we have lakefront properties that are going to reduce their impervious cover and the 0 to 50, which is what we care most about, and recharge all their roof and all their driveway and provide some plantings along, I think that's a good example of what we'd want to see from an applicant that's doing it the right way. Now, if you're someone that goes out and builds a patio and puts a house in and does all this work in those buffer zones and comes to us after and says, oh, I did all this, I'd like you to approve it after, that's a different scenario. And I think we're going to hold a harder line with those folks. So I guess the question becomes, in a different situation, if an applicant were to come to us with a similar scenario, right? Reduced impervious, recharge, some plantings along the lakefront, would we be happy with that? I guess that's ultimately the question that I'm trying to answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
It's getting late and I don't want to slow us down, but I wonder if Joe or maybe Ed could talk about replacing oaks and pines with arborvitae. Because while we might add up tree stumps and maybe we get close to what we're talking about, what our general guidelines are, the type of tree, I think, probably is part of the discussion as well. And like you said, Melissa, we're moving towards also thinking about the size of the tree being removed and whether that is a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1. But I don't know enough about trees, and I wonder if Joe or Ed could talk about oaks and pines versus arborvitae along the edge.
Joe,
Chair?
yes, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think the arborvitae will provide some similar, evergreen cover, obviously, habitat as a pine, but certainly not what the oaks would provide as far as habitat value for food value for mast crop primarily. So that's I think a good point that you raise. They don't really replace the habitat value of the oaks. I would also just comment, just point out that the plantings along the lake are all grass species. I don't know if the commission generally likes to see something more diverse along the lake. But just want to make sure that they were aware those were all grass plants. And the other thing I noted in the planting schedule is that purple coneflower is listed, and that is not listed as native in Massachusetts by either Go Botany or the USDA plant list. So that one should probably be switched out for something else.
Okay.
So if I may, Melissa, I'd just like to reiterate, I might be able to look the other way at the arborvitae if we had more robust plantings along the lake. To me, that's a trade worth talking about.
Okay.
I'd also like to make note that property line, there's also an abutter's dwelling is very close to the lot line in that area. So I just want that to be stated that we wouldn't want to create a hazard for an abutter by planting some of these trees. And I know I believe there isn't a garage, so their vehicles are parked in front and stored outside of the dwelling. So that is also just a point I'd like to note. We wouldn't want to create a potential hazard down the road of this tree. The other question I had is, I know the commission feels that oaks provide a beneficial habitat, but where we are proposing to take an oak down of substantial size, how long will it take for that oak to retain that habitat back? I don't believe oaks grow very fast, whereas these arborvitaes, they grow, from my understanding, pretty quickly over a short period of time.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that I have an issue with the arborvitaes, and if they're providing a visual barrier as well, I can see why you might want to plant those as opposed to something else. But yeah, like Ted said, it's nothing against planting them, but are they meeting what we're trying to achieve? Is that Jim?
Melissa?
Yes.
Yeah, briefly. I recall that arborvitae are a type of cedar. So if that helps Ted at all or anybody, and I'll be happy to sit corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they're cedars. Just goes by a different name. And they're relatively fast growing. And they provide an excellent screen, visual and sound. I don't know about anything about wildlife habitat. I guess things can hide out in the arborvitae in the wintertime. And there are certain varieties, by the way, that deer love and will destroy in one winter, and others that don't get destroyed. So that's it.
Thanks, Jim. I learn something every day. Okay, so at this point in time, with that discussions back and forth, obviously there's a few things that, like Joe mentioned, that we might want to tweak on the what's presented here on the grasses, shrubs, perennials to make sure. Yes, Ted.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I see that Alan and Chris Ann have their hand up.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead. Take your comment.
Thanks, Ted. Yeah, I just wanted to ask a few questions and also just make a few comments, just kind of after listening to the discussion. So with respect to the examples that were sent our way in terms of coming up with the planting plan, so we literally took this, the plan that's on the lower right-hand side over by what side of the lot is that? Like with all the colorful markers.
South, yeah.
We took that directly from the planting plan that you guys sent along, the Guide to Healthy Lakes from Vermont, and that is the edible Beach Eden example. And in there, I mean, I'm not a botanist, so I'm not sure what exactly constitutes native, but it was listed as a native species to our hardiness zone in New England, the coneflower. So that's why I had that in there, but we can certainly swap that out. But in terms of like, we're really trying to comply with things that we weren't originally planning to do. So that's an example of something we took directly out of a plan that you guys shared with us. I also called Judy and talked about the replacement. Like, we're actually taking out 9 trees. We're not taking out 11 because we decided after the discussion last time where the committee was very concerned with the 2 oaks that were going to be taken down that are directly in our view of the lake. We decided like, okay, we're not going to fight on that because it's a habitat situation. They have significant root systems. They're large caliper. Like, we totally understand the reasoning behind why you wanted to see those stay. So we're not arguing to take those down. However, when I called Judy and she was super helpful in kind of talking through the documents that were sent, like the Sudbury native plants and the Vermont Lake Plants Guide to Healthy Lakes document, and said, although, you know, obviously she's not on the committee, but she said that because you guys don't have an actual guiding document yet, like I understand you're working on that. Like I asked about caliper, like, okay, so if we take down these trees, is there like a number you're looking for? Like a 3-to-1 or a 2-to-1? Because the lot is not infinite. We can't fit like oaks everywhere that we take down an oak. So we're willing to do that, but there was no guidance. She said that you guys are working on that. So we just did our best with our due diligence to try to replace more than we're taking out. And you can see that with the number that we listed there, that I thought we did a significant job of replacing, you know, it's not like a 1-for-1. We're not trying to say we're going to plant like a coneflower to replace an oak. Like we're trying to be reasonable there. And given the fact that there is no actual guidance from the town yet, I think that it's a little bit unfair to go back and forth in the meetings like, okay, now show us what you have. Is that okay? Like give us some guidance and we'll abide by it. But I just don't want to drag this out forever if we have no actual guidelines to work by. The other thing is the arborvitae was also in the Sudbury list. So I'm glad to hear some of you think that is an okay replacement. I literally read about it in a bunch of books I took out of the library, that it's a great habitat for like native species that live near the lake. Like I'm really trying here to be a good steward of the land. Not just for the hedge. Like we even talked to our abutters who happen to own like a tree farm. And we're like, is this going to block your view? Is this going to be good for like the land around it? Are the roots going to be good? Like we really are trying to be good neighbors, good lakefront homeowners, all of the above. And I guess the last thing I would say is, I understand that the ideal would be to have like a meadow in front of our house with a little meandering path going to the lake, but there's literally no precedent for that. And I think it's a bit unfair to make us the precedent for creating like a 30-foot buffer of like grasses and plantings and all of this. That's just my 2 cents on it. Like we're really willing to work with you guys. Like we don't have to make it all grasses in the front. Maybe we can swap out for some bushes, but I would personally love to hear from the committee specifics on what you would like to see if we were to swap out from some grasses without putting in like a huge meadow like it showed in that document. I'd like to see just some examples we can work with. So again, we don't come back and you're like, no, it's not quite right. Like, do you guys have any suggestions, like any actual species or anything specific? Because I mean, like Stephen was saying, like we're trying. I think we're doing more than the average lakefront home builder in terms of what we're replacing. So that's just what I wanted to share. Oh, and also, it was my understanding we don't have to come back again after we have our actual floor plan, that you guys in the first meeting said we're okay with getting the box approved. That was another thing.
All right. Yes, thank you for those comments. Definitely appreciate them and the work you're doing. And I don't want to string this along any more than we have to either. So we'd like to get it done as well. And then I do appreciate that feedback. I think that's good feedback for the commission, as we try and develop, some real documents to point to, examples. We're going to continue to do our homework on that to try and make this easier process for all applicants. So I think to that, I would say, I'll just ask Judy, are there any particular conditions that would be helpful if we were to go ahead and vote on this, as far as plantings and swapping out plants and trees and working with you to finalize what actually goes in the ground, if we are approving, essentially what's shown in here in number and general location?
So I would just discourage, I mean, if anyone on the commission has substantial concerns that the planting plan as presented is insufficient, I would caution against approving anything with a condition that the planting plan be revised. I think, like you said, the only thing I would feel comfortable doing as staff, because I mean, after it gets approved, most of this is administrative, is like, this native grass wasn't available at the nursery, we're swapping it out for this native grass, that sort of thing. But I just wouldn't suggest conditioning any major revisions. I think that opens a can of worms that you might not be able to, chase down exactly what you would want to sufficiently protect the lake. And then I would also point out that I sent revised materials to Joe, and I don't believe he's issued a formal review letter. So if the commission wants to see that in advance of making a vote, I think that would be something to consider.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do we know what those outstanding items are?
From Joe's comments, I'm not sure.
Through the chair?
Yes, Anna?
Yeah, I think it'll take a little bit longer because, as Stephen pointed out, he did not revise his memo or narrative. He just made all the changes on the plan. So Joe's going to have to go piece by piece and actually look through it. So I don't think it's
planting plan.
There weren't very many comments. That's why a formal letter I felt was not necessary, because there was one comment was regarding the resource area, which you can see there's wetland flag 1.1, 1.2, soil test sheet 1, very clear, marked on the plan. As I stated tonight in this open forum, the buffer zone tables were updated, and other than that, the planting plan, he highly recommended we provide some sort of planting plan prior to approval, which those are, to my knowledge, the 4 outstanding comments that I don't think are necessarily have to make it to a formal memo to observe the plans that are amended at this time.
Sounds like there's still non-native species in the planting plan. So those are the sorts of things that Joe would be looking at with this new material provided.
I mean, it was just a cone flower. I can swap out a flower. That was it. That was all he said.
Yep. It's just commission standard to have the plans accurate and clear through a third party prior to issuing an order of conditions. So that's just standard practice.
Melissa, can we go back to are we good with the plants as shown despite the species?
Yes.
Are there any concerns? I don't have any as expressed before.
Okay. Does anyone else have concerns about the plants, given the conversations that we've just shared and the mitigation that's present aside from planting? Does anyone?
Melissa,
Yep.
I do. And I just want to be clear, I'm not looking for 30 feet of meadow. I'm looking for a planting plan that makes it so there is no straight line runoff to the lake. And I think that can be done very simply without 30 feet of meadow. I'm looking for a way that there is no straight line water. And I love that there's more retention basins. There's going to be less water runoff. That's not zero. All I'm looking for is some plantings that block the path before the steps that are something a little more substantial than grasses. But that's the planting. I'm not looking for a meadow. I would love meadows, but I'm not asking for that. I'm not looking for the backyard to disappear.
Would you be able to give us an examples concretely? Because the example you showed us and the one you referenced again today was that picture of literally a meadow. So is there something?
Well, I don't have it with me, but I think that Judy pretty quickly, and I don't have the scale on that plan, honestly, if Judy will show it to me.
Like I'm trying to just understand what you're looking for.
Right.
What they had in that.
Hopefully this will help. Let's see. And again, I don't know if there's a scale. That's not the one. So, yeah, so if you could just zoom in on that, Judy. The width of that, I don't know what it is, but that's one tree. But all I'm looking for is so that we don't have a path that goes straight. And I could see a path that is a winding, I don't know, 6 flagstones, just that has plantings on the little bend, just so there's not a straight line to the lake. And I really don't think it needs to be in width thicker than, I'm not a landscaper, I haven't done it, but honestly, thicker than 4 or 5 feet, as long as there's a little bend to the path before the steps. That creates a full planted filter before the lake.
So if we did that with like 6 flagstones and
that kind of just does a little
grasses?
jog. Well, I don't know enough about the grasses. I don't know what kind of grasses we are. I think we tend to ask for small shrubbery. I don't have that list in front of us. I don't know what we mean by grasses. I know my wife plants decorative grasses, and I think that those are actually bigger, what I'm picturing from my yard, than taller, blocks more view of the lake. So I don't know exactly what we mean by grasses.
I guess it's just, if we keep, like, we want to do the right thing. Like, if you guys literally drew on the plan and we're like, this is what we're looking for, we would be like, yes. It's just the resources it's going to take for us to go to a landscape architect and have to redo this a bunch of times because you guys aren't giving us like specifics. Like, I don't think that's fair as a homeowner that we have to take on that burden. If you guys tell us what you want, we'll do it, but you're not doing that.
Right.
But through the chair, I mean, and Ted, just give me a moment to speak here too, because we're going way past our time for today. I would want to suggest, Melissa, that we don't ask the homeowner to do anything else. I am concerned that we are going beyond our jurisdiction of 206.3 of the bylaws. The homeowner is not trying to remove, fill, dredge, build upon, degrade, discharge, or any of the into a resource area. They're not going to touch that space to the left side of the red line. And as long as they aren't doing anything to the right-hand side of the the dotted line, just using that for reference purposes, that I don't think we have the ability. Somebody needs to show me where in the bylaws it says we can require homeowners who are not trying to do anything in this area. It is a resource area. There's no question about that. But our jurisdiction, unless they're trying to change it, remove, fill, dredge, build upon, discharge, I don't think we have jurisdiction
through the
over
chair.
that. And I think as a commission, we need to have a separate discussion about that, because I'm not comfortable at all that we're doing the right thing here by the bylaws of the town.
Well, that's not accurate, Walter.
Okay, then show me where it says in 206.3, our jurisdiction, where what they're doing, we have a right to make them do something else.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Judy.
Walter, I'm happy to follow up with you outside of this meeting.
Sure.
But there are protected areas outside of the physical resource area that maybe you just haven't, come across the language in the bylaw. So I'm happy to go over that with you. But
sure.
In this case, almost this entire law is jurisdictional. So that's why there's so much focus on making sure there's strong protection, because building a house on this lot is going to have a huge impact on resource area wherever it goes. So that's why the commission is taking so much time to talk about the plantings. So I am happy to go over it with you, but I assure you that almost every square inch of this site is jurisdictional.
I'm not debating that. I'm not debating that one iota. I am saying what they are proposing to do does not impact this area to the left side of the red dotted line. Absolutely everything within 100 feet or whatever it is on the right side of that, they're proposing to build a new house. They're doing all this stuff. But if they're not doing anything to cause water to flow into this other area that they don't plan to change, I'm just not sure of a jurisdiction. And I'll be happy to talk to you about it offline, Judy. But I
think there's jurisdiction and there's discretion that the Conservation Commission has, and as conservation members, that's why we're a board, and that's why we vote on these things, because not everyone shares the same opinion of discretion, I guess.
Well, Judy, I appreciate your willingness to educate me. So,
Melissa.
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Quick question.
Yep.
There was a mention of fieldstones leading down to the stairs and the docks that are entering the lake.
Yep.
Under existing conditions, are there fieldstones out there, or is it all lawn? Because I would be opposed to the suggestion that we add impervious cover near the lakefront. And would be
Matt,
curious.
you're right. I think that I'm just trying to picture a path, and I use the word flagstone, I think. But I think you're right. That is more impervious. A gravel path would be better. I think I was careless in my... I just feel like... And we can have a vote. I feel like I'm in the minority, and we can have a vote if we wanted to. I think that you don't need a meadow to be able to have a barrier to any straight line water runoff. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, I hear you. Melissa, may it be worth a straw poll here to see where people are at, and we can either decide to give the applicant clear direction on our expectations for the next meeting or vote to approve.
Through the chair.
Okay. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, just for my 2 cents, I'm looking at my previous comments, and I think essentially all those comments have been addressed tonight. I think the one outstanding item, which I may have missed, was the extent of hydric soil. I had recommended that be looked at. I did see it out there. I don't know if that was addressed and I missed it. The other item that I just noted was that the BVW forms were revised and resubmitted. Just looking at them quickly, there are still errors on those, but I don't know if that's significant enough for the commission to hold up. Requiring another revision on those.
Okay. Thank you, Joe, for looking at that.
Thank you.
Yes.
If we are moving toward a vote, I have one other super minor thing that I think we're all going to be in agreement with that I think fell through the cracks tonight. So if we could just see the other plan again, please. I think this will not be controversial for anybody. So I'm really, really thankful that those 2 oaks in the backyard are staying. I'm just a little nervous that the line that shows the limit of work includes those trees. And I think if we could have on the plan a mention of some sort of fence barrier around the trees so there's no mistake when the work begins.
Yeah, I think that's something that we could condition, Ted.
Yeah.
That the remaining trees be protected with
some sort of visible.
Right,
just so there's no confusion when the work starts.
Yep. No, that's fine. Okay. So
On the straw poll, Melissa,
Yep.
if you would entertain it, I would suggest a couple of conditions for consideration as to where people stand.
sure.
All right. So the first condition would be, as just mentioned, adding tree protection notes to the plans for the 2 oaks and the vegetation along the perimeter of the property to remain. The second one would be to replace the grass plantings along the lakefront wall with shrubs selected from the native plant list. Any non-native Massachusetts plants being replaced with native Massachusetts plants. And it would be reviewed by Judy or Anna for concurrence. And I think that's in line with what we've done with swapping out plants, but not changing the number or the location of them. So that's where I'm at, and I would be in favor of that order.
Okay.
You're the chair.
Yes, Anna.
You guys had talked about a PIB along the adjacent property line where the BVW is, and I believe Stephen had said that had dropped off the last revision. I do not see it back on this.
So that was the tree line that got dropped off. If you go to the sheet, you can see CCS along the southerly property line and a fence sign post.
Oh yeah, I see
You can
3 of them.
Three of them. We also added the detail that the length of that line is about 90 feet. So every 30 feet, more or less, denser if there's a tree available.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Does look like that PIB is behind some of the plantings, which is something the commission has not been in favor of in the past. Usually you have the PIBs in front of plantings.
Okay. So we would just, all right, so that would be potentially another condition.
Judy, are you talking about it looks like maybe 4 light brown or tannish colored?
Yeah, these guys.
Yeah.
Those are proposed plantings, I think.
Okay. They're very, very faint.
The planting plan looks like they're
there you go, friends. Okay.
Yeah, so those would probably just get mowed right over if they're in front of a PIB, to be honest.
So I will note that the commission was okay with placing the placards on trees. So if we need to put them on the high side of these plantings, there may not be any trees there available.
Yeah, I think, these are 4 ferns. They're small, right? Those I envision would be somewhere between the trees.
Yeah, between kind of in
Potentially.
front of the trees. This is kind of the tree line was located by the stumps of the tree, not the stumps, the trunk of the tree. So they're kind of in front of, at the base of those trees. So although they're not, on top of, they're going to be right adjacent to these ferns.
Yep. Okay.
But we can condition that to be moved as requested by Matt.
Okay. I think the condition is that the PIB is in front of the mitigation plantings, whether those plantings get moved or it's a field call, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I make the condition general enough that it's saying that that's our intention is, that the PIB protects those plantings from getting, like you said, mowed over, with grass cutting. Okay. All right. So I guess if we take I guess I'll take a straw poll first just to make sure everyone's comfortable voting with those conditions. Matt,
I am. Yep.
Walter,
No,
you're not
I'm
comfortable.
not comfortable voting. I think we're going beyond our jurisdiction. We're also talking about the limit of work is not where, or the erosion control is not really where it should be. If you're talking about they have to disturb all the area by the lake wall, I think the erosion barrier essentially needs to be moved all the way up to the lake wall, because you're going to have a skid steer. There's going to have to be equipment in there.
Yeah,
They
they
can't.
So they do have
Walter, they do have erosion control along the wall, and I can echo what Melissa and Judy are saying.
Yeah.
Everything we are reviewing is within our jurisdiction and to our discretion to make a decision on.
But I disagree. So and Judy's going to show me that. I'm willing to be educated. But right, what I read in 206 says no.
Okay, so you're not comfortable voting on anything tonight regarding this application.
So
That's you're saying.
what are you
To vote
proposing? I'm sorry, let me just ask the question again. You said a straw vote.
Yes.
So does that mean we're voting? I'm not sure what straw means in our vernacular. Does that mean a yes or a no?
We're trying to get a sense of whether or not you would be comfortable issuing an order of conditions with the conditions I just shared.
If the homeowners are comfortable with it, I'll support approving it. But yeah, I mean,
I can't speak for the homeowners other than the fact that what we're talking about voting on is what they've proposed to us for consideration.
Okay. If that's what they propose to us, then yes, if we're comfortable with it as it is now, I'll vote. So I changed my mind.
Okay, Jim?
I am okay with the motion and
With
what we're
voting.
asking for. Yeah.
All right. And Ted?
And I'm just stuck by the plantings along the lake, not protecting the stairs. So my straw poll vote would be I would vote no on this.
Okay, so it sounds like we can go ahead and make a vote, which is great. Ed, I missed you.
Sure.
Ed, where are you?
Do I get to speak?
Yes, please do. I couldn't. You fell off my screen. I caught you before you said anything. Are you comfortable voting, Ed?
I'm not totally happy, but I don't think we have a right to be totally happy. And I'm comfortable to vote.
Okay. All right. With that being said, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the plans as presented by the homeowners.
And with the conditions that Matt stated.
Yes, with the conditions that we've already stated.
Okay.
And with signatures.
And with signatures by Judy and Anna.
As amended.
If Walter accepts that amendment, I will second it.
All right. All in favor? Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is a no.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I will also vote aye. All right, so you are all set. Thank you for working with us.
Yes. Thank you all for your time.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. I know you're all volunteers, so I really appreciate how much you care about the lake, and we will do our best to be good stewards. We will not put any fertilizer on our lawn.
Okay. I hope you enjoy it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have Wall Street Development, 12 North Mill Street. Mr. Petrozzi.
Melissa, the timekeeper just points out it is 10:33.
It is
yes, 10:33. I got that right.
Let me say this, that the timekeeper should, I'm tired. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would vote to move this to the next agenda.
Oh my God, sure, why not?
Well, I think with that being said, I saw Lucas's comments were submitted. I didn't see anything from you, Mr. Petruzzi.
Can I just make, well, we'll do this quick and I'm happy to continue, but
Yep.
if you look at the comments by Lucas, most of them have to do with the conservation to discuss. If you look at 1A, conservation to discuss. 1E, regarding invasive species. Everything in the area that we're talking about, everything is being cleared. There aren't going to be any invasive species. Siltation barrier, erosion control, we're suggesting an orange siltation fence instead of a plastic orange construction fence. All of these things have to do with the Conservation Commission discussing. They don't require more information other than a plant list. It doesn't require us to submit any more information. So I'm happy to continue this to the next meeting. I hope you will put me a little bit further ahead on the agenda. But if you look at Lucas's comments pretty closely, these are commission related items that the commission needs to decide. We've had this conversation going back and forth for many, many months, but the commission has to express itself relative to these comments here. And I don't know if any of the commission members have read the comments, but
yeah, I did read the comments, and I would say there's definitely a few in there that are plan maintenance items, making sure things are shown on existing conditions versus proposed, and just cleaning up some plan edits. So those are pretty straightforward.
Well, let me ask you a question, Melissa. So one of the comments here, the last one, is showing a profile of the sump area, like we're talking about a 4 by 6 foot ditch. Do you really need a profile of what a 4 by 6 ditch looks like? I mean, it's kind of infantile, basically, is what I'd call it. It's a ditch. You dig a hole, that's where the water goes, and that's a sump. It's not like we don't need a plan to show that. That's ridiculous. So I'm happy to continue. I'm happy to continue, but these are such minor comments, and they're all discretion. They're all up to the commission to discuss and give us direction. Do you like orange construction fence, or do you like an orange siltation fence that does some good? These are simple things.
Through the chair, Melissa.
Yes, Walter.
I'll withdraw my request to continue. And this gentleman has waited very patiently. I'll stay as long as you need. So
no, it's okay. I don't mind. I'm tired too. I haven't even had dinner yet. I'm sure you guys are tired too.
I'll do whatever you need.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But I just want to make sure that the commission understands that these comments are all up to you, not up to me. They're up to the commission to decide. But I'd be willing to continue if you put me first on the agenda next time. All right. I mean,
I don't know that I can make promises like that, but if I do, I don't want to keep drawing this out either. So I think
can we
just to go through quickly.
Yeah.
We can do that. So the first comment, whether the proposed work has been staked in the field.
Well, we did the site walk, and it's everything in that area in the front of the lot. That's what's really getting clear. It's all cleared. There's no reason to stake it out. I mean, if you want a box, or if you want the road, you have the wetland line that's there. Everything inside of the wetland line.
Okay.
The BBW is being cleared. There's no staking out. It's redundant. It's redundant.
Right. Yeah. I went on the site walk and have a good feel for that. So as far as the session goes, I feel comfortable that I know what the proposed work area is.
Yeah. The second thing regarding invasive species, if we're clearing the whole area, there aren't going to be any invasive species left on the property. It's nothing.
I believe this refers to, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but this refers to the actual construction treatment of the invasives. So during
Well,
construction, if you're pulling them out, that they're being responsibly managed and not just they don't end up back in the wetlands somewhere. I think that's the point of
Yeah,
this.
well, if that's what he's asking for, we're going to remove everything off site. That stuff doesn't stay on site. It's removed completely, roots and everything. So when you grub out the lot down to its subsoil, or there are no roots, there's nothing. It's a bare spot. So
Is that Joe?
Yeah,
Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, so there's the construction phase. Obviously, you don't want to be moving invasives off-site somewhere else where they're going to be reestablished. And just, typically, invasive species management plan, lists the invasives that are going to be treated. I don't think that was actually provided in the plan, but I think it's primarily glossy buckthorn that's out there. Also, the other issue is that you don't want to be bringing anything onto the site from off-site during construction. Vehicles should be looked at as they're coming onto site from other sites to make sure they're not dragging new invasives onto the site during the construction phase.
Well,
so I don't think this is something that we typically ask for or have, and it's not anything super extensive. I think it's just acknowledging that they're on the site and working that into the
right. But that's a statement. That's an acknowledgement. That's not like a plan change or anything like that. It's a condition that you folks can put into your order of conditions, and that we're required to comply with. And obviously, we comply with it by whatever means we can comply with. But to say that we have to make plan changes for something like this, that's not accurate. I mean, it's really kind of. In fact, Joe's initial comments is there's not many invasive species on the lot, so I don't understand the comment, to be quite honest with you.
I think the comment is you provided an invasive species management write-up, a brief write-up, and Joe's just asking that you identify what the species is so the contractor and whoever's working on the project knows what's being
I only provided that. I only provided that because that's what the commission was asking for through the peer reviewer. So Joe's comments was there's not much of invasive species on the property, but yet we're going to remove everything that's within the siltation barrier out to the street. So what is going to be left? There's no invasive species to be treated.
Okay, so I don't, don't want to argue, but
through the chair
for clarification. Yep, Joe.
Yeah, and and like I mentioned, you also want to make sure you're not bringing anything onto the site that's not already there.
Okay. Who does that?
Well,
somebody did, or it wouldn't be a comment.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that could be conditioned, like
right.
As you said.
Okay. And so the other things, the innovative alternative septic system, again, that's a Board of Health issue. I don't know what the commission has to do to discuss that, but that's really kind of not your jurisdiction.
Yeah, I think normally if there was a situation where we thought that a alternative septic design could decrease the footprint of,
unfortunately,
I mean, in this case, I think I don't think there's much else
and then
that we can do. So I don't think we need to discuss that one.
Yeah, let's see, a checklist of replication guideline checklist. I think we did that, but I'll have to check.
Yeah.
Then the next thing is number 6 about trees. It says the commission to discuss. I don't know what to discuss. I mean,
so
like I said, there's not a lot of things in here for me to do. In other words, so
all right. So
the trees, yeah. So in regards to the tree locations, I would just tie that to the comment about the fence and the erosion control barrier. So I believe the orange fence the way I interpret that comment, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but the orange fence is more of a visual to the contractor that they shouldn't be clearing or going anywhere beyond this fence, because we have absolutely had contractors, we have really tight sites like this, cut down trees by accident, didn't, that.
And I agree.
That is
I agree with
that
you.
is correct. Yep.
Okay.
So that's why I'm suggesting an orange siltation fence in addition to the filter mitt, because that serves two purposes. It gives a clear demarcation that's orange, and it also provides some erosion control that's there. The construction fence, this plastic thing, it lasts, maybe through a windstorm or whatever, and then it becomes a nuisance. And by that time, the trees are all cleared and everything. It's really kind of it's up to you. I'll do whatever you want. But in my experience, the orange siltation fence does both. Does erosion control, and it provides a demarcation that nobody goes beyond. So it's just my recommendation. You guys can decide whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want to.
I'm not familiar with the orange colored filter fence, but if that's an option, then
we use it on Leonard Street.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I think as long as that's specified, I'm
How about you do it either or?
That'd be fine. Something
orange construction fence or orange siltation fence. I just think it's better. That's all. It gives you more protection.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the essence of the comment and what we're trying to get across. So
through the chair, going back to comment 6.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify, it looks like there's maybe 4 to 6 additional trees that would need to come down that weren't indicated on the plan. Just wanted to clarify that.
Need to come down or don't need to come down?
Do need to come down.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
We'll take them down.
Yeah.
The only item I see here that we need to do, according to Joe's comments, is that we need to label on the existing condition sheet should show the existing buffer zone and not the proposed.
That would be a plan change, correct?
17. Other than that, there are no other plan changes, except that this profile of proposed sump area, which is like it's a ditch. It's a 4 foot by 6 foot, 8 foot wide hole where the water goes into they're drilling the well. Other than that, there really isn't anything else left to do on this thing.
And that sump size is called out on the plans.
Yeah, we call it out on the plan, but we don't have a profile. I mean, what's a profile?
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
That is located. It's a temporary disturbance in the wetland, which is why I had added that comment. Just wanted to make sure that the wetland was being protected beyond that area.
Right, well, we do have erosion control around that area, and obviously we're going to restore it. So that'll be part of your enforcement. Your condition that it be restored to its natural condition. It's a pre-existing natural condition, which could require some additional plantings or other kind of vegetation to go there. Much better than what's there today, which is practically nothing.
Okay.
So I'm willing to continue so that we can have a very good discussion at the next meeting either the commission's in favor of this proposal or they're not. I mean, we've gone this route.
I agree with you. I think it's, I don't see any reason why we can't vote at the next meeting. I think, the meat and potatoes is here. If you just address the comments as we discussed tonight, then we can feel comfortable that we're all on the same page as far as what exactly we're voting on.
Okay.
Right? So we're not.
Appreciate it.
Does that make sense? Okay.
I'm going to go get a nice dish of apple pie right now.
Good. Enjoy.
Left over from Easter. So, I'm going to go feed my face. So,
All right.
but thank you very much. It was a very enjoyable meeting tonight. I enjoyed every moment of it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Petrosi. Enjoy
And
your
then,
pie.
we'll see you next week. So you can.
Oh, we got to
when's the next
continue.
meeting?
Yeah. Can I?
22nd?
The 28th.
28th. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Can I get a motion to continue this out to April 28th?
Through the chair.
Both
hearings. Yep.
Both hearings, yes.
A second.
Can you just clarify in the motion that it's for both hearings for 12 North Mill?
I thought I just did, but we might have talked over each other. I'd like to make a motion to continue both hearings, 188-1845 and 188-1839, to April 28th, 2026.
Second.
In favor, Ed,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
and I am also an aye.
And
Great.
Walter's and I.
Oh, sorry, Walter.
Thank you, Walter.
I keep losing one person every single time on my screen. I don't see you at all.
Thanks
you,
very much, and we'll see you the next time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Petrosi.
Judy, try to put me up first, all right, please?
I will.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. I think being that it's 10:50, Ed, do you mind if we kick the Longwood drainage
Please.
study to
Please.
next? Okay.
Please.
We'll do that.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Based on Ed's reaction to that.
Second.
Can you take 2 seconds to approve the
Yes.
minutes?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minute, assuming no one has any comments? If so, speak. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from November 4th, 2025?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
This is Ed. I'll second.
All right. All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Walter.
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay. And I am also an aye. All right. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think the only thing we would have said on the conservation minute is to remember to review the draft regs. And hopefully we have a lighter agenda.
Good reminder.
Talk about them next time.
Good night, everyone.
Can
We
I
need
get
a motion to adjourn, don't
motion
we?
to adjourn?
Oh, I thought we had that.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Jim already adjourned.
Jim adjourned, Walter,
No, he's still
Aye.
here.
Aye.
Ted.
That is an aye.
Oh, Jim just gave us a thumbs up.
All right. And I am Ed.
Yes, I'm an aye too.
Okay. I am an aye. We're all set. Thank you all.
Everyone
Good night,
gets some
everyone.
rest.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah. Go.
Bye.
We're good.
Yeah.